Oh, forgot to hook in my mic. Boom. There we are. This mic has had a little cool down because last night we had Jeffrey, or not Jeffrey. Excuse me, not Jeffrey. We had David, so my mic needed to cool off a little bit. We're good now. Let me move the Discord over here. Let everybody know we're there. If you're just jumping in, again, we don't know. I don't know if the shadow banning is still happening or not. Mostly because I don't know how anything works. And so, if you're here, if you could hit those like buttons, hit those shares, that would be terrific. It would make me very pleased. And I'll stop talking like a fucking weirdo if you do that. So that's a good idea. Thank you. I am having a good day. Josh, good morning. What's up, dude? I haven't seen you in a while. Josh Debates. Josh is brilliant. If you guys don't know Josh Debates, give him a follow. Specifically, if you like boring debates like philosophy, but Josh is a really smart guy. It's RTB time. Hey, baby. Hey, Koenig. I made a mistake this morning. I go over and I get. By the way, if you guys don't know this, if you get the McDonald's app, you can get a coffee for $1. You just have to have the app. That's it. Sign up for the rewards. Get the app. You can get coffee for $1. There's no decent coffee shop close to my house. The closest I have, I can go to Dutch Bros, and it's like a 5-10 minute drive. And I'm far too lazy for that. But I decided this morning I would get a McDonald's breakfast sandwich too, which it's been a while since I've done that. And I went, listen, it's their best one. It's the McGriddle with like a spicy chicken in there. I do make, God damn it, stop telling me, I do make coffee too. Just sometimes I wake up late. Anyways, I went with that spicy McGriddle. It's delicious. I don't know what it's made of. Probably not chicken. It does not sit well in the tummy. God damn, all these fucking make coffee more. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for supporting McDonald's. I'm sorry. I was just giving you guys a tip. You eating? Dang, bro, you eating every day? Not a good look. Fuck all of you. I don't know why. What shit is that? Is that a thing? That's what we feed my daughter's fish, is bloodworms. I don't think I'm supposed to be eating that. I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to be eating bloodworms. I don't know. Athena's having a mental breakdown in the... Athena's having a mental breakdown in the Discord right now, posting Trump memes. If you guys ever wanted to see Athena being pro-Trump, you're seeing it this morning. She's pretty good at it. Pretty good. What kind of fish are they? She just has one fish. It's one of those fish. What are those fish called that you can only have one of? Because if not, they just eat each other. It's one of those fish. I made the mistake of taking her to the pet store one day to pick up some bones for my dogs, and then betta fish. Yeah, betta. That's right. I should know that. I know all about bettas. I thought I am. I guess I am one. That's a weird. Why is it a betta fish if they're that aggressive? That's a little. Maybe a poor name. Does anybody know why it's called a betta fish? Whew. Don't go hazelnut on McDonald's coffee. Yikes. That's heavy on the hazelnut. I said as light as possible. They did not listen to me. Whew. That is heavy. You allow your guests to wish. I do? I allow my guests to wish death upon people? Did I do that? Because beta are the true warriors? Yeah, but like these betas, they can only be with each other. Or by themselves. They can't be with other fish or they get after it. I don't know where Felice is so far. We have this deal. We have 3 news stories for each other every day. That was our new deal. And, of course, today is the day that she didn't show up for that. So I'm just going to sit here and talk to you guys for a second. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with wishing death upon people. I apologize. I once had a beta named Mudflap. He was a warrior. There was a party. What is happening? McDonald's breakfast is S tier breakfast. That sounds low, Dougie. I don't know what it is. I'm not a breakfast person. I usually don't eat breakfast. But I got into that let's not call it a debate. Let's call it that we were talking at David last night. And then before I knew it, it was time to go to bed, and I never did eat my dinner. In fact, I made dinner and I ate half of it because I have ADHD. How do you all know about Bosa Donuts? By the way, I see stupid people. Bosa Donuts, upgrade. Dutch Donuts. Dutch Donuts is far superior to Mesa Donuts and Bosa Donuts, who I used to believe were the best in Mesa. But now I'm a firm believer in Dutch Donuts. Good morning, Brustlemania Farm. Let's not dog McD steak bagels? What the fuck? Steak bagel? What is... There's no way that's a real thing. McDonald's steak bagel. That can't be a thing. You know, honestly, if I had my way, if I was going to eat someplace every day that was like a chain, like I'd probably do Einstein. But that line is ridiculous. The closest Einstein's to me is like... I think it's the closest Einstein to 300,000 people because it is packed every morning. There's a line out the door. So Dems want to take away guns. Incorrect. Make hate speech laws. Correct. Illegalize protesting. Incorrect. And take your child. Also incorrect. That was 0 for... I mean, we have that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 for 5. Not bad there. But we do like hate speech laws. We do think that there is certain language that doesn't need to be protected by the First Amendment. And the Supreme Court agrees with us, which is terrific. This better be... I'm going to guess Lego, not opposition. Just looking for opposition. Oh, wait. That's not Felice, right? Okay. Lego, sorry. Just looking for opposition. I buy one, get one free peanut butter. I'm good for 1 month. Grandpa from Tampa still on that peanut butter and jelly. Let me check in with Felice. You guys better give Felice the same criticism I get when I'm late. Yeah, I'm 1 minute late and I get killed. You guys all gave her my Discord. You call her queen. You say you're all here for her. She better get the same kind of criticism when she shows up late. I do know that one of her accounts is currently banned. So I'm gonna go. I guess I'm gonna go over to Twitter here for a second while we wait for Felice. That's what I'm saying. Thank you, dog. You understand about those McDonald's app. I don't get a lot of McDonald's points, though, because I just buy a coffee when I go. And it's $1, so I get 100 points. She can do no wrong. There we go. She doesn't have important... Why are you all defending her? She's not doing shit. She woke up late. That's what happened. My message from Felice this morning came in late. She woke up late. That's all. It could have been... She might also be upset about a joke I made about her mom. That could also have been a reason for her to be late. But I'm a bit salty this morning because of it. Donald Trump is trending. That's interesting. Nothing ever happens with him. Trump Jr., this is the recap from Letitia James. Well, let's not get hers. Let's see if I can get a recap of what he said today. Anybody have him? By the way, I didn't know this about President Trump's sister, Marianne. I remember reading about her in Mary Trump's book. She had recorded her aunt. Some of the stuff she got for her book was from her aunt, who was very critical of Donald. If I remember right, she called him stupid. But as soon as Trump became president, she basically resigned her judgeship. She was on, it's called senior status, which I know for the judge that I worked with, he was also on senior status. Basically, he would just be called in if they needed him, or if you needed an emergency warrant, he could do warrants. So that's basically all he did. Let's go here. Did you guys see this video from Ken Paxton on Steve Bannon's podcast? I know Felice did because she loves this, but let's here's Ken Paxton talking about how he literally stole Texas for Trump.
It's certainly critical to my state, and that's why we fought off these 12 lawsuits. We had them in Houston, we had them in San Antonio, we had them in Austin, we had them in the counties where you'd have the most liberal judges. And it was a concerted effort nationally with lots of money going into it. And just knowing that we had 12 lawsuits that we had to win. And if we had lost one of them, like if we lost Harris County, Trump won by 620,000 votes in Texas. Harris County mail-in ballots that they wanted to send out were 2.5 million. Those were all illegal, and we were able to stop every one of them. Had we not done that, we would have been in the very same situation. We would have been on election night. I was watching election night, and I knew when I saw what was happening in these other states that would have been Texas. We would have been in the same boat. We would have been one of those battleground states that they were counting votes in Harris County for 3 days, and Donald Trump would have lost the election.
Yeah, so we made sure that people couldn't vote by mail to make sure we won the election. Political Mom, yeah, it was... come up real quick and explain that, Political Mom. Can you come explain it? I hadn't heard it until this morning. I was listening to it while I was picking up my McDonald's this morning. If you want to come up and explain that real quick, I'll invite you up. I don't know what is going on. What? Felice says she's late because Kevin McCarthy was physically attacked by, I don't know if it's by Tim Burchett. What is this? Hey.
Hey, Jay.
Hi. All right, explain that to me, because I just heard this morning why she had resigned, but I can't remember now.
Judicial misconduct for the tax invasions and issues that her family was going through. So because they were being investigated, she was technically, what they called it is she was compromised.
Okay. Because she was involved in it, or just because she didn't want to be somebody that was presiding over?
Yeah, it was financial tax and fraudulent investigations, and because she was involved with her family, she no longer had the trust, is what it basically came down to.
Okay, gotcha.
They never trusted her at her position, that's why.
Okay, I was hoping it was...
It's how the family, rolls, taxes. It's
they're not fans of paying taxes.
No, that's absolutely not. Why would they?
Do you know about this thing with Tim Burchett?
No, I don't. I'm not.
Right. I'll break this for you. You can stay here. Listen to this.
8 Republicans who voted out Kevin McCarthy from the speakership, and apparently had a bit of a dust-up in the hallways himself with Kevin McCarthy. And I have Congressman Burchett with us here right now. So, Congressman, explain to us what happened with you and Kevin McCarthy.
Well, I was doing an interview with Claudia from NPR.
You're welcome for this, by the way.
She was asking me a question, and at that time I got elbowed in the back, and it kind of caught me off guard because it was a clean shot to the kidneys, and I turned back, and there was Kevin, and I for a minute I was kind of, what the heck just happened? And then I chased after him. Of course, he's as I've stated many times, he's a bully with $17 million in a security detail. He's the type of guy that, when you're a kid, would throw a rock over the fence and run home and hide behind his mama's skirt. And he just, he from behind, that kind of stuff. That's not the way we handle things in East Tennessee. If we have a problem with somebody, I'm going to look them in the eye and talk to them.
Okay, so he walked down the hallway, hit you with his elbow.
Yeah, you can go on Claudia's Twitter account. It pretty much, her X account. It's very accurate.
Okay, so then just explain. So you chased him? What do you mean you chased him?
I just ran after him. I was like, what the heck? Why'd you do that? Because it was, like I said, if you've ever been hit in the kidneys, it's a little different. You don't have to hit very hard to cause a little bit of pain, a lot of pain. And so he just, of course, as he always does, he just denies it or blames somebody else or something, and it was just a little heated, but I just backed off because I saw no reason. I wasn't gaining anything from it. And everybody saw it, so it didn't really matter.
But he responded to you?
Yeah, he just acted like, what are you talking about? Who are you to, that kind of thing. And it's just, I think that's...
All right, that's enough. Do you have additional details, please?
He just had this interview on the Capitol steps reporting that McCarthy physically attacked him. But I just think It's just indicative. I mean, this is just like during the House Speaker votes when Margarine attacked Lauren Boebert in the bathroom, but all the Capitol Hill blogs like were talking about it. I mean, these people are out of their minds. Like the Repub on Repub crime. Can you imagine Kevin McCarthy? He's like a little guy just running by
Well, didn't
Maybe
Kevin
and
McCarthy-
elbowing somebody. Hold on, elbowing somebody in the kidneys. Like this is what's going on now in the halls of Capitol Hill. We're now resorting to physical violence. I mean, I have other stuff I want to talk about with updates to Capitol Hill news, but I just had to. I had to.
That was
like,
great. I'm glad you shared that. No,
That's beautiful.
didn't Kevin McCarthy try to like assault Eric Swalwell in the bathroom?
Wait, what's going on with the bathrooms in DC? Is it like a fight club there that we don't know about?
That's where he got called like a pussy, right? Because he was standing at the edge of the bathroom, wouldn't let Eric Swalwell pass him. Trying to like, stand up to him.
Okay, here it is. Yeah, I didn't know that story. So Swalwell told McCarthy that it was pathetic. You're weak. You're a weak man. And then, as the story goes, McCarthy was upset. He had a vein popping out of his forehead. The next day is when things got interesting. He was going to the bathroom. McCarthy saw him. McCarthy said, "If you ever say something like that to me again, I'm going to kick the shit out of you." They were in each other's faces, basically nose to nose, and Swalwell said something like, "Are we really going to do this?" And McCarthy said, "Call me a pussy again and I'll kick your ass."
Here's the
And
thing, though.
Swalwell
I'm
said,
glad that
"You're a
McCarthy's
pussy."
losing his shit. I'm glad McCarthy. Well, I mean, he is, but I'm glad McCarthy's like, well, not as far as it relates to the Democrats. Like, that's his own fault. But as far as it relates to the Republicans, where was this? Like, McCarthy should have been pushing these people a lot sooner. I don't know what you know about Tim Burchett, but he is abhorrent. Like,
Oh yeah, he's not
like,
terrific.
I mean, I'd be shoving him in the hallway every day too. That man is unbearable in every literal possible way. So I don't blame anybody for shoving Tim Burchett. Like, Trump apologist to the end, doesn't acknowledge like the value of women in the world.
How old is Tim Burchett? That story of like he's the kind of guy in my neighborhood that threw a rock over the fence and went and hid behind his mama's skirt. Like, I don't even really understand that reference
That's
at
Tim
all.
Burchett telling a story of something he did as a child. Like,
When he was raised, like Little House on the Prairie. Where
yeah, it sounds like projection. Like, it sounds like you're talking about you, Tim.
Do you know about this 99% German man tweet? That's, I don't know where. I think it comes from a Rogan podcast again.
No, what? Tell me about it.
Basically, this is from, in America they make you vote for 100% German guy or 99% German guy, and if you don't vote for either one of them, you actually elect double German guy. I think this was from Joe Rogan. I don't know who this lady is from the Joe Rogan Experience. I think that's who. By the way, she appears to be AI. I don't know who she is, but anyways,
What's her name?
I'm trying to find it. It cut off the name at the bottom.
Yeah, I had to take a little break from looking into like mustache man rhetoric because it's getting real depressing for me.
I'll have
The
to find
future of
source.
America is looking real depressing. For
Yeah, there's a
people
lot
like
of
me.
people that are like that are posting now the side by side comparisons of the tweets.
Oh,
So you
yeah,
have
I saw that.
the Trump undocumented immigrants are not people, they are animals. Side by side with German man, Jewish people are not people, they are animals. Same thing. I went on a little deep dive yesterday, and it appears whoever is writing Trump's script is borrowing heavily from Mein Kampf. It appears.
Well, I mean, speechwriter. Like, think about it's like who DeSantis hired as a speechwriter is a white nationalist. I mean, yeah, these people they're inspired.
Who did
by
DeSantis
fascism.
hire? I don't know
I
about
can't
this.
remember. He ended up having to fire him when they did the first firings when his campaign first started going badly. But I remember reading an article. I can't remember the kid's name, but he is someone who closely aligns with that one white nationalist that Trump had over for
Fuentes?
dinner. Yes, Nick Fuentes. Yes.
Oh, Nate Hochman.
Yeah.
That's who. Yeah,
That's who it is.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
And that guy was crazy. And they were saying like his campaign aides were so concerned because no matter what that kid said and how outrageous and Nick Fuentes like it was, DeSantis was like, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Like, no
Well,
problems.
That's the problem, is that there's so many people on the right, including DeSantis, that legitimately don't know that they're fascists and alt-right. They don't know. Like, I don't think DeSantis is smart enough to know that that's what he believes. Do you?
Oh no. Well, this is the thing. It depends on how you value education. This man has a history degree from fucking Harvard. You would think he would have learned something about fascism, authoritarianism. I think that DeSantis saw a path. You know what I mean? I think that happens a lot with politicians. When you're not looking about what's right or wrong, how can we help the commonwealth, the common good of the American people? And it becomes more about winning and losing. That's what the Republican Party cares about. And when you see that path, that opportunity to the White House, I think there are certain politicians who it no longer matters like what your ideals were, what your beliefs were, what's good for the people. It's just that path is a straight shot and you're going to take it.
Yeah. Speaking of winning, one thing we hear a lot is about Donald Trump, the businessman, and how good of a businessman he is, and how he runs our country like a business. And that's why we need a businessman. I just headline from Rolling Stone today. I brought 3 articles today, like I said.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not you doing some research
Check this shit out.
I'm loving this for us.
Yeah. From Rolling Stone, a financial filing shows that since its launch in 2022, Truth Social, which was brought in $3.7 million in net sales, only lost $73 million. So negative $69.3 million. There's your businessman right there.
There was a finance article that came out about Truth Social too, and how like several times when it was going bankrupt, it was funded essentially, through shell companies by the Russians.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not. I don't know if I'm so confused because Devin Nunes, the CEO of Truth Social, he seemed for a while to really want to make some money off of it, and I think there was a money making opportunity.
It's just the Republicans consistently misunderstanding that, like, they think that they have like this base, but that their subscription and the people that show up for that base like will expand. They don't realize their numbers aren't expandable. They have no idea that like all of their people are loud. There's not this silent majority that they think exists out there anymore. Like, we know who the fuck you are. Everybody knows who the fuck you are because you're all wearing the same goddamn silly hat. That's why. You all look, and you won't be quiet at any point. And so they keep thinking that like, oh, there's 30,000 people here. Imagine how many more are out there. None. 0. There's no other ones. That was all of them. Everybody that supported you in that city showed up that day. There's not like millions more that just couldn't make it that day.
Yeah, exactly. That's why every time there's a Trump rally, if you look on Craigslist, they're offering to pay people to be there.
Is it every time? I remember they did one in Tucson, and they were paying people.
Oh, yeah, in Arizona for sure. They're always looking for... We should get paid next time and go.
Should we go?
Oh, my gosh, we should totally go to the next Trump rally in Arizona.
See if we could get behind him. What would happen if you were paid
Just the people with the signs?
Yeah, because those people are mostly paid.
Oh,
but what happens? Do you sign a contract?
I'm a minority. They probably want me back there, for the cameras.
But your sign would just say minorities for Trump. They would just be generic. But what would happen? Do you think you sign a contract, or could you like flip it and have the sign say something else? What would happen if you
bring a Sharpie and just draw your own sign on the back?
Just borrow one of Trump's out of his pocket that he's got there?
I thought they were crayons in defense of him. Oh wait, I wanted to.
Do you say crayons? Do you say crayons?
Doesn't he draw with crayons?
Crayons?
Why am I under that impression that he uses crayons?
What is this? Cranberry? Crayon?
Are you saying
crayon?
Crayon.
Crayon. For all the shit I take about the
Can I
word-
not say crayon?
No, everybody in the Discord is going to be like, I get made fun of for every word I say
You have to
wrong,
say
and
crayon?
they're gonna be
I
like,
don't-
no,
I
it's
deny
cute
that.
when she says crayon. That's what they're going to say.
Yeah, I know. Don't try anymore to turn the Discord against me. I
I
think they
can't.
have
You
spoken.
show up fucking late. You don't say words right. Where's your
didn't-
3 articles? Nowhere. And yet I'm going to take the heat.
I
on
have
all
my
of this.
articles. Please don't. I'm prepared. I came with the clip of a physical assault at Capitol Hill.
I mean,
That's
I
what
brought the
I was
clip.
doing.
I brought the clip.
I wish we could see the actual assault. There's got to be security footage. Because
All right, what's your story?
Well, I
you
have several
brought?
stories. Well, first I wanted to address what we those screenshots, like the guy that was saying that he wanted to debate me about my comment about debate being based in white supremacy.
Okay, so do you
Can
want
I
me to
just-
share what happened?
Oh yeah, you can
Okay,
give an
so-
overview, and I just want to explain why I say that so that it can be understood.
So I got a message last night from Dean. I don't know if Dean was here or just heard about our debate yesterday. Debate. We'll use that.
Probably heard about it since you're posting that.
Oh yeah, that could have been it with Pluto. And I know that he has debated Pluto before. I'm just pulling up the messages. But basically just said like the white supremacist claim was insane. And do you remember exactly what the claim you made was?
Well, no, I just said debate is based in white supremacy. It's very simple. Like you can debate it all you want. The truth hurts, but debate, started on the Senate floor of ancient Rome, where only citizens, right, could debate. Who were citizens? I'll tell you, not black or brown people, not those people, just white men. Debate's roots, and especially philosophical debate, is based in white supremacy and patriarchy, not unlike, ding, 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 Western civilization. So,
Yeah. So Dean did not like that. I think what Dean thought is that you said
the truth hurts.
the education
care.
is inherently white supremacist. That's what he asked. I said it
No,
wasn't
it's
my
not.
claim.
Access to education, right? Once the Civil Rights Act happened and we had to integrate schools and things like that, it's like, oh, okay, everyone get over it. Racism's over. No, the new Jim Crow is limiting access to education. Access to university is a privilege that is predominantly in this country reserved for white men. So that's what I mean when I say that the root of debate is based in patriarchy and white supremacy, because the only people that were included in those conversations throughout Western civilization up until the last 50 to 60, 70 years were white men.
Yeah.
That is what I'm saying.
And this is the funny part. Like, if you look through the comments here, people are going, "Oh, so debate equals white supremacy."
Hey,
how the fuck did
Liam,
you get
what
that?
is it when Arabs debate? I said Western civilization, Liam. Stay with me now. I know you don't have a history degree, but stay with me. Debate in Western civilization, debate that started in ancient Rome, is based in patriarchy and white supremacy. Do you got it now, Liam? No one's talking about Arabs.
And by the way, for Dean, Dean and I are cool. We're good. I'm not shitting on Dean. If Dean wants to address that himself, great. But I let Felice know just so that she could explain if anybody else was confused by what was said yesterday in what she's saying. And she responded strongly.
These are the facts. Like, people don't want to hear that debate is privilege. And I want to go more specifically into currently, because that's my the historical view of debate and how women and minorities were excluded from the conversation and from a voice in politics. But when we're talking about now, because access to education is a privilege, when we start saying, oh, do you not know what these words mean? Or you're not using the correct philosophical debate format, we are systematically limiting people from the conversation. And that is what I don't want. I want to have a conversation in good faith that everybody can understand. It doesn't require, took 2 years of, I was a philosophy major for 2 years, and I still get lost in philosophical debate. I love philosophy. My For You page is probably 30% philosophy. But that doesn't mean that I want to speak that way to the masses. I want to have a conversation that everyone can understand. And here's another example of that. Women and the abortion debate. When you have the philosophy bros debating abortion, debating women's bodies, but have no concept of the sorrow, the pain of miscarrying a child and what that means. and debating sentience and what women should be fundamentally allowed to do or how we should express ourselves. Women in abortion debates become emotional because we carry the pain of knowing what it's like to actually lose a child from our bodies. So when I hear in philosophical abortion debates people saying, "Why are you so emotional? Calm down." You know what I'm saying? Like these nice
It's in the comment. Yeah, it's in the comments now. She's
Exactly.
too emotional. Yeah.
This is exactly my point. You are eliminating the most valuable voices from a conversation, and I will not have it. That's where that statement comes from. It's not debatable, and I will not debate about whether or not debate is rooted in white supremacy and patriarchy. It absolutely is.
And that's the problem I've had with philosophical debate since I didn't study philosophy. I went to school in Utah. I don't know if we had philosophy. I'm gonna guess that we didn't. And if we did, it was probably like some after school club.
Utah philosophers would be a fascinating bunch to study.
It was definitely like something that only happened off campus and in underground huts where there were no access to internet, so they could discuss this stuff freely. But you can see even in the debate yesterday, the terminology used to try and exclude people's opinions or to try and dismiss an opinion. How many fucking times yesterday did Pluto say slippery slope fallacy without even understanding like what it takes for a slippery slope fallacy to exist? But that's what these debates have turned into. They've turned
It's about
into,
winning.
And that's why I said, when I asked the question, when I said at the end, I'm like, what's your stance? Do you know how dehumanizing that is? Did these debates start between two men that are like, okay, what's your stance? And then it sounds something like what Pluto said. Yeah. So basically it's going to be a two-pronged, like whatever the fuck he was going to say. It's like, but you're talking about like, you're dehumanizing the person that's like choosing whether or not to carry this baby to term. And that's the part of it that's so disgusting. And then they make it a philosophical debate and they misuse terms to alienate somebody else so that they can go
and be like,
back
you don't know
and
what that
forth.
means? You don't know what that means? Oh, you don't know what that word means?
Right.
Well, then you as a woman having a uterus and experiencing a miscarriage is no longer valuable because you don't know what a slippery slope fallacy is, even though he was the one that didn't know. But I never want to do like the gotcha moments on fallacies because it's fundamentally pointless. You know what I mean? I want to have like this is what the debate bros are missing, and not all of them. I don't want to group anyone together because that's not even true, but we can all use philosophical debate format, but what is missing is the critical thinking, right? You can debate a side of something, but now critically, let's apply it to today, current events, what's going on in America. Have an educated conversation that is solutions oriented and involves critical thinking, not the format you learned that your professor had to publish a book on and then he made you buy, and your grade is based on spewing that information back at him. That's the level those people are on. Open your minds and think and listen to the people around you who have firsthand experience. That's what I challenge people to do who are stuck in philosophical debate.
Well, and there's so many heroes from philosophy, right? Like, I think, was he Lockean? I can't remember. Did he say? I think. He
I can't even remember. Don't even get me started.
I mean, I'm gonna guess he was Lockean. Libertarians love that. But when you talk about those people, you talk about Locke or Hume or Kant, like all of them were deeply racist people. And are you gonna try and tell me that they at those times were able to disconnect their internal racism from their philosophy as they wrote these books? No, there's no fucking chance.
It was baked into society. It's not even about, and I always say this, I can't know someone's heart, like individually, as someone harboring hate for other races in their heart. I don't know. I know that racism systemically exists and is baked into society, especially back then. And no minorities, no women. Women were chattel. Minorities were chattel. We were not citizens. We were not people. We did not have the vote. That's what I mean when I say philosophical debate is rooted in patriarchy and white supremacy.
There we go. So there you go. I don't know if Dean's here. Somebody probably sent that to him. There you go, Dean. Again, I don't really have an issue with Dean. We've been good, comfortable enough that he reached out to me. But that's the explanation, and I assume you're sticking to it.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know who sent that message. I just wanted to explain because it is when I throw out statements like, "Oh, debate is white supremacy," I could fully grasp how someone would be like, "What the is she talking about?" So I do think it's valuable. I just wanted to address it and explain that I was talking about historical roots and then also how people can be systematically limited from a conversation based on lack of education, which is rooted in the new Jim Crow.
Got it. Okay, by the way, box is open for opposition. If you're here, your opposition, please jump in the box. We'd like to discuss that. Do you want to go to your first story of the day now that you've got your emotions out of the way, Felice?
I know. Now that I've done being an emotional woman, I've done crying. So
Good.
we could.
I've been waiting for you to be done with that.
Well, now, okay. So the first thing I just wanted to cover was I don't know if you saw or not, but the Supreme Court had, their little, what I consider a PR moment as someone who worked in advertising. I mean, this is a true PR moment, like if I've ever seen one.
We're going to self-police now, we promise.
I know. Here's the rules, but there's no consequences. We're not going to give a list of things that will happen if and when someone violates the rules, or I don't know, say has been violating the rules for their entire time on the bench of the Supreme Court. We're just going to list what the rules are, but not the consequences.
Yeah, has there ever been a more clear example of, like, literally the least they could do? This is the least we could do. This is all we're going to do. It is the least we could do, and it is all that we are going to do here. We're just going to acknowledge that there's corruption, and we're going to say that we don't like it, but we're not going to do a goddamn thing about it.
No interest in changing a thing.
It's a completely non-binding code of ethics. These are lifetime appointments. They're not doing anything about it. It's just like, don't steal, okay, and then they steal, and you're like, remember?
And the code of ethics is they just basically are listing all of Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito's crimes. It's like it's just like, oh, here's all the things that Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas have done wrong.
Yeah, so just to be clear, justices should uphold the integrity and independence of the judiciary, avoid impropriety and the appearance of impropriety. And that reminds me of when I was a kid, we had to avoid the very appearance of evil. That was part of, like, some Mormon prophet said that at one point, and so, like, suddenly I wasn't allowed to wear masks at Halloween. My mom threw away. Do you remember Eve 6?
Oh, please, God, this is not happening.
It's happening. Do you remember Eve 6?
I wasn't allowed to do Halloween either because of my evangelical parents, because Satan, that's Satan's day.
So my mom got
I do remember the name of the band Eve 6. I can't remember what, there was like some annoying
I would
song.
swallow my pride, I would choke on the rinds, but the lack thereof would leave me empty inside.
Please stop.
All right,
okay,
fair
that
enough.
happened.
So
Everyone
the cover of their CD is just a picture of a fly. That's the whole thing. It's just a fly. And I bought the CD and I came home. I was listening to it. My mom grabbed the cover and she's like, "We have to throw this away." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And if you guys can look this up, like if you have Google right now, look up Eve. I think they only had one CD, or album, I guess we'll call it. My mom's like, "We got to throw this away." I'm like, "Why?" And she's like, "Because this is suggestive." The proboscis of the fly, she thought was somehow suggestive. Like that's all flies have that, and she thought that was suggestive for some reason, because we had this crazy fucking neighbor who thought everything was evil. And my mom, because she was so scrupulous, she's like, "Oh, I have to keep up with everybody else. Like, if somebody else has a crazy rule, I better also have this crazy rule." So that CD was thrown into the trash because it had a fly on it.
All I can say is I was raised evangelical. This is totally normal. My mom used to, if I wanted a CD, take out like the CD jacket and like read the lyrics and be like, "What is this?"
Previously I've not liked your mom, and I don't like this part of your mom, but you told me some things earlier that make me think she's kind of cool.
God, please stop.
All right. Is it my turn for a story now? So the Supreme Court sucks.
Story for story. Or I can go again if you want to prepare your next story, because I have some other shit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I want to just go back to Capitol Hill when they're not punching each other in the kidneys. The House Republican clown show is trying to keep our government from shutting down. So the vote is expected by late afternoon today on the laddered CR. Yeah, so this is like very ironic. The exact thing that Kevin McCarthy was ousted for is now what Mike Johnson is doing, and they need Democratic support. The bill won't pass without the Dems. There's already too much opposition. It barely passed the Rules Committee. So we shall see what happens here in the vote. But I was reading let me pull up the New York Times article, but at the very end, because basically it was like, if more Dems support this, if it goes the same way, the way it's looking likely to go, it's going to be similar to the vote count.
Whoa. Felice, your mic just cut out bad. Is that doing that to anybody else? Can you guys hear Felice? Yeah, your mic just cut out. Literally can't hear a word you're saying. Yeah, that's right. Remove her. I don't know. That sounded like the end of a microphone there. The AI is fun. That's right. She's AI. Michael, listen. It's too soon to make AI jokes regarding me, okay? Don't. It's too soon for that. We'll leave it at that, but it's too soon to make AI jokes at my expense, okay? The host I hate every single one of you. The host left.
I am a robot.
Somebody block Andrew right now. Did you see what Andrew said?
No, what did he?
Wait, the host left?
Oh my God, I love the Discord. It's the best thing.
That wasn't in Discord. That was in here.
I know, but they're spilling over to here. Trust me, it's a movement.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, now that we're going to form a socialist company, we can vote you out of power soon.
Oh, shit, that is how that works, huh?
Yeah, that's why you're going to need a dictatorship. It's not looking like you're going to be able to hold on to power for long.
You know what? I'm starting to rethink this whole thing. I'm starting to think fascism's not such a bad idea. It's easier to maintain power. It all comes down, it all comes crashing down in a fiery end. But before that, it's pretty great for the person in charge.
What's the last thing you heard me say, by the way, before I discombobulated?
Literally right when you started talking about that story, it started going.
Okay, so how the Capitol. So we're talking about the spending bill. We're trying to fund the government.
Yes.
And they're supposed to vote later today on the laddered CR. That is the same thing that Kevin McCarthy got ousted for. There's already too many Republicans opposing it. So they need the Democrats to pass this laddered CR and keep the government open. So literally, Kevin McCarthy accepting the help of Democrats, in the words of Matt Gaetz, was the reason that he had to go.
Doing what you're supposed to do in Congress. And
yes, bipartisan support
yeah.
of not shutting the government down was why Kevin McCarthy had to go. Which is why I think he's having his emotional meltdown and running around punching people in kidneys today. Because he's realizing that they're going to let Mike Johnson get away with the thing that they got rid of him
What if
for.
later today a story breaks that Tim Burchett got punched in the kidney by Mike Johnson too?
I can't.
Just does the exact same thing. Burchett's just taking kidney shots from everybody.
He does. I've said it again. If you know Tim Burchett, I'm not surprised. But
some have said to know Tim Burchett is to hate Tim Burchett.
He's impossible. I'm not surprised that Kevin McCarthy snapped on him. But yeah, so we'll see. It looks like Democratic support is looking similar to it was with McCarthy. At the end of the New York Times article I was reading about this morning, they basically said, or it's a quote from someone, they didn't say who it was, but a Republican Congress person who said that they won't oust Johnson for it either.
They just will let him do the same thing. What was the deal?
They're going to let him do the same thing. So that's what I'm saying.
But what's the deal with McCarthy then? Why I've still never figured out actually why they ousted McCarthy. And
Matt Gaetz said he was going to do it.
Well, but hold on. Here's my conspiracy theory. I think all along it's been Trump behind the scenes demanding that whoever is Speaker of the House does whatever he says. And because McCarthy was like like lukewarm in his support for some of the crazy things Trump. He still supported it, but he wasn't enthusiastic about it. I honestly think that's what cost Kevin McCarthy his job.
100%. It was things with the impeachment in court. You know what I mean? He wouldn't take the vote to the floor. Like, just there were things that were just a hair too far for him. But I don't. If you've seen, like, Margarine is still a diehard McCarthy supporter because he was her like vehicle to the top.
Yeah.
So she's yelling for people to impeach Mike Johnson, but she won't go against Trump, and I don't think Trump wants it. But I almost wish she would because he deserves it. If it's good for one, it's good for them all. They can't, because this bill we're passing, just to clarify, it has nothing in it for Israel, nothing in it for Taiwan, nothing in it for Ukraine. Like, they have work to do. Like, this is accomplishing just domestic things.
Yeah, bare minimum of everything. This was my story. This was from The Atlantic, which is a pretty pretentious magazine, honestly, or news outlet. But it was a really good. It was really interesting. It was Jamie Surowiecki. It's Why Americans Can't Accept the Good Economic News. So you sent me a graphic this morning saying inflation was flat. What was it? Is it 3.8? Is that where we're at?
I think so. Yeah. So
3.8. Obviously, so here's some statistics that, and basically this article is just saying that you have this new Siena poll that we talked about yesterday. It shows that Trump is gaining support. Democrats are freaking out, they said. I haven't seen Democrats freaking out.
The double haters, the people that hate Biden and Trump, like, also are on the rise. So
yeah, so
Robert's
they're saying, like,
gaining support.
Why Americans can't accept the good economic news. And this is further proof that one, our politicians are completely untethered from reality as far as what affects everyday Americans. And what is happening in America. So the average median net worth rose 37% from 2019 to 2022, up to 192,000. And now again, that's net worth, so that's going to include like your house and your assets against your debt. In particular, Black and Latino households saw their median net worth rise faster than white households did, though the racial wealth gap is so wide that it narrowed only slightly as a result of this change. That's the part that, like, this is the part that they keep missing, that everybody seems to keep missing. We rely on these key indicators. We're going to, like, net worth doesn't mean anything if you can't pay your bills. If you can borrow against your net worth, you can only borrow for the amount of time that until that money dries up. You still can't afford to live your life. During the pandemic, Americans reduced their debt load. The median credit card balance dropped by 14%. And the share of people with car loans fell. More significantly still, Americans' median debt to asset, debt to income, debt payment to income ratios all fell, meaning the United States households had lower debt burdens on average in 22 than they had the 3 years earlier. So even in 2022, at the end of the pandemic, through all of that, lower debt burdens, a higher net income, and the gains in real income were rose 3%.
May I say two things?
Please.
Just to go off what you're saying, because it's interesting. I just want to point out the converse of that, though, like, because, okay, so that's all very well true, but then to combat inflation falling, they're then raising interest rates, right? Credit card interest rates. So even if credit card debt is falling, the interest rates are going up, which can make it seem, right, like credit card debt is still a problem. I'm just thinking out loud here. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Aaron, welcome. Do me a favor. When you're not talking, just because of your background noise, will you mute when you're not talking? But go ahead and unmute and welcome. Aaron, you're muted, bud. There you go. Hey.
How's it going?
It's good. What's up?
Not much. I don't know. I was invited on here, so.
Oh, you were. Oh, you must have been chirping in the comments. Was there something in here that we were saying that you didn't like?
Is it me talking?
No, not really. I just was pointing out how, you know, all the stuff that people talk about has zero insignificance to me.
Real quick, Aaron, is there like a shower running behind you?
No, I'm at work.
Oh, okay. No
Working a
worries.
weld shop.
No
Not
worries.
lunch.
Okay. It sounds, that background noise is really loud. I don't know
Sounds
if
like
there's
maybe there's
Yeah,
like
it's
an
like
air
a-
conditioning
it's like
or
a
like a
leaky air
ventilator.
hose.
Yeah.
It's a
Okay.
leaky air hose.
I don't know if there's a different place to go. If not, no worries. But if there is a different place, that would be easier to hear you.
No, this is it.
Okay, go ahead.
Just my main concern with everything going on is all the kids that are being trafficked right now. Like it makes no sense to me that everything that people talk about is totally insignificant to the fact that there's hundreds of thousands of kids being trafficked in a world where, you know, $130 billion industry, child sex trafficking exists, and we're talking about nothing compared to that.
Well,
Defund the FBI, right? The people that are fighting child trafficking, we should defund them. That makes sense. Shouldn't
How
we
is
fund
that?
the FBI? If you're concerned
who
with child
said that?
trafficking, shouldn't we? Well, many people have said defund the FBI. Because I'm with you on this. Like
Well, they're
I've never
part
been
of it,
trafficked,
right?
but
the
I
CIA
have,
and everything else.
Let me mute you just for a second, Aaron, while I give you some statistics, just so people can hear. Let me give you some statistics that maybe, Aaron, I've got to mute. Yeah, thank you. Oh, we probably muted at the same time. So here's some trafficking statistics. Number one, that 130 billion, it's 150 billion in illegal profits, 51.8 billion in the United States. Now, children are 4 times more likely to be trafficked for labor than they are to be used for sex. 66% of child trafficking victims are girls, and so it begs the question: if most of this trafficking, you're 4 times more likely to be trafficked for work than you are for, let's say, perverts. We've got to address that. So there's a couple things that we have to do that I think Democrats actually are trying to do. Number one, we have to go after companies who are hiring people that are trafficked here for their labor. You have to go after companies who hire children for labor, and you have to probably invest a lot of money in doing that. If you do care about trafficking children, if that's your number one agenda, what's happening at the border, that building a wall, like that's not gonna solve most of this. Most of this stuff can be solved in-house by us, by going after the employers who hire children for labor. But that's not like the sexy story, so we don't tell that story. But most of the time, children are being trafficked for labor. Aaron.
Okay, well, it makes no sense. Like every news story, there isn't any stories about this. Where's the counting on the news, like saying one life matters, all this crap? Where's the counter on the news counting? Hey, here's another, you know.
These are estimates.
1,000 kids came up. It doesn't
Aaron,
matter.
you understand these are all estimates, right? We can't have like a counter. But even
Sure you
even
can.
then,
If
Republicans
it's
are
that
on the debate.
Obvious,
Well, then
if
can you
it's that
explain to
obvious
me why
that so many
Republicans?
people,
Aaron, can you explain then why Republicans are advocating that they lower the age for children to go to work? Like Republicans don't want to go after any of these companies. They want to lower the age where children can go to work. Like they like this. They like child labor. It seems. They seem to be very on board with this.
well, what are they supposed to lower the age to? There's plenty
I would
of
recommend
kids,
not
like,
lowering the age. That's what I'd recommend.
Right now, when my kid was 14 and stuff, I was telling him to get a job. Like, hey, go cut lawns and stuff like that, you know?
Okay,
Like,
do you think your
go make
kid
some
should
money
work?
for yourself.
Do you think your kid should be, does he yearn for the mines? Like, should we put the kids back in the mines or in factories? That's what we're talking about, is factory work, backbreaking factory work, that they are lowering child
Backbreaking
labor.
factory work? Like what?
Yeah. What are you talking about? You don't
I don't know.
understand that in
How
Arkansas
old-
they're rolling
how
back
old
child
are-
labor laws so children can work in factories? That's one of
To
the
what age,
specific
though?
industries in the meatpacking district
To what age?
specifically. In the meatpacking meatpacking factories specifically, they are lowering child labor laws so that children can work in
To what
factories.
age?
16.
Wow, that's horrible.
Agreed.
Are you kidding me? That's laughable.
What's laughable?
I mean, in the Jewish community, you're an adult at 13, but you can't go to work until you're 16.
No, you cannot go work at a meat packing plant when you're 13. And by the way,
Why-
We should
why
be
wouldn't you be
educating
able to?
children.
by the way,
Our
here's
kids
a story.
are
here's a
that
story,
dumbed down
Aaron,
that
Aaron,
you can't go
Aaron,
pack meat
Aaron,
in a
Aaron,
facility.
Aaron, shushies for a second. Here's a story.
And
that the right-
especially if the
Aaron,
if the
shushies.
if
Aaron,
the
I'm
rate of
talking.
pay is 15.
Okay, cool. Aaron, I was talking. Aaron, here's a story that you don't hear on right-wing news. Mississippi specifically, in these red states, you have a lot of meat packing facilities, and those meat packing facilities regularly hire young, high school age children who are here illegally, and they hire them through fake documentation. They pay them a low wage, and when those children are hurt, they are maimed for life. There is no protection for them. There's no workers' compensation. There's no disability because they are not residents of this country. They are not citizens of this country. A story, more than 24 minors working in the Ohio poultry plant that they raided. One of them was, I believe, killed working at the poultry plant. You can find video after video after video of these meat packing places hiring not only illegal labor from other countries, but also underage labor. And your party is saying, like, yeah, let's do that. Let's take a high school kid, let's put them in a meat packing plant, and let's just put their life at risk. Let's put a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid's life at risk just so that we can have cheaper meat. Is that what you're advocating for, Aaron, while you showed up here to tell us how much you care about the children?
I'm talking about the little kids, the child sex labor, the kids, the 9-year-olds that are getting raped because the border is open and all these little kids are getting raped on the way here.
It's not because the border is open.
It's
Wait,
crazy
Aaron,
to think
Aaron.
that a 16-year-old is so
Aaron.
dumb they can't work in a factory. That's crazy.
It's the exact. Aaron, here's the thing. Let's just talk psychologically. Children's frontal lobes are not fully developed. They are not adults. That's also. They are literally in what is psychologically called a secondary psychosis. They cannot make decisions.
penis.
They do not have impulse control yet. That is why children can't be tried as adults. They are literally incapable at that age of knowing what is best for them. And the way that we can help them, Aaron, is by educating them. They need to be in school. They need to learn how to navigate interpersonal relationships. They need to fully develop psychologically before we stick them in a factory. You know those signs in factories? It's like, oh, it's been 2 days since our last accident. Children shouldn't be losing fingers in factories. If you care about
But
it's
they
crazy
can lose
that you
their
came up
penis,
here
though, if
to
they
talk about
decide
the children and the dangers that our children are facing.
But they can't
and
go
you're
to
like,
work.
get them in the
I
factories.
can cut my dick off if I'm 12, but I can't go to work if I'm.
Yeah, Aaron, here's the thing, dude. This isn't just like a say all the horrific shit bingo card. Stay on subject. You don't get to just obfuscate like she just explained to you how dangerous this is for children, and instead of you having a normal conversation like a normal human being, what you did instead is you pivoted to trans children because you don't seem capable to have
No, it's the same thing.
So Aaron,
It's the same thing.
Aaron.
She just said they're
Aaron,
not capable to make a decision if they want.
Aaron, listen, pal. First of all, you don't understand like what it takes for a trans person to get a surgery like that. You're talking years and years of therapy. You're talking about gender affirming care. You're likely talking about hormone treatment before that. You're talking about a very small, a tiny minority percent of children, and it's literally after everything else has been tried. Because Surgery of any kind for a child is dangerous. Surgery for any child is dangerous. It doesn't matter if it's getting your tonsils out, right? So we want to avoid surgery at all costs when we can, right? But you're taking this tiny minority and you're saying like, oh, well, you can do this after years of therapy, after years of treatment under the supervision of a doctor, and with the express consent of your parents. You're comparing that to, hey, let's send a kid off to work in a meat packing factory. Do you understand how those aren't even remotely the same, Aaron?
Yes, so they can make money.
Okay, so let's stick on this subject. Before you go into your anti-trans bigotry,
yeah, you're right.
Could we focus
you're
on this first?
Yourself,
could we focus on this first,
You're
Aaron?
making money.
Aaron, I'm going to mute you again because you're saying outlandish shit. I don't know why you have so much hatred in your heart, but could we just talk about child labor right now and not turn this into a trans thing? Could we just do that? I muted you, Aaron. Could we
was talking
Could we just talk?
I was talking about child sex trafficking.
Aaron, Jesus Christ,
and you
dude,
pivoted
shut up.
to labor.
Aaron, shut up. Aaron, could we just stay on subject, please?
Because nobody cares about kids getting raped.
Could we stay on
That
subject,
was my
please? Yes or
subject.
no? This is a yes or no, bud. Could we stay on subject, please? Yes or no?
What's the yes or no? What are you asking?
Can we stay on the subject of child labor?
That wasn't my subject to begin with. Mine is
The subject was trafficking. The majority of trafficking
if you
has
wanna
to do
talk
with
about
labor.
child
So
labor-
we're trying to cover
Yeah.
the majority of the problem. That's what we're trying to do here.
So you're
'Cause
trying
you're
to
concerned
ignore
about
the
the
fact
children,
that kids are
and we
getting
want to
raped.
talk. Okay, first of all, stop saying that word.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
concerned about the kids that are getting
Stop.
sold into slavery.
Yeah, that's
And
what
what
we're
are
talking
you-
about.
wide
Child
open border.
labor.
And Aaron, what are-
That's
Aaron, what are
exactly
you
what
doing
we're
about it?
talking about, Aaron.
Hold on, Aaron, what are you doing about it?
You are talking
No,
about
Aaron,
child
what are you
labor.
doing about it? Aaron, what are you doing to stop children from being trafficked? What concrete steps have you taken besides coming on here? What concrete steps have you taken to stop child trafficking?
Well, this is step number one, I guess.
Step number one was
And why don't
coming
you
on my
guys
live to talk about
Quit
trans
ignoring the fact.
kids. Nobody's ignoring
No, I'm not
it.
talking
Listen,
about trans kids.
well, you were earlier,
Apparently
but
you
listen,
are. Because I
Aaron,
mentioned it and you
all right, there
just
we
you
go.
pivoted.
Aaron, listen with your ears. You brought up trafficking children. I gave you a stat that you're 4 times more likely to be trafficked for labor. So is your stance that you don't care about people trafficked for labor? You only care about people who are trafficked for sex crimes? Is that what you're saying? Aaron?
I care
Aaron. No,
about
Aaron,
the children
answer,
in general.
Aaron, answer my question directly. Are you saying you don't care about the labor? You only want to talk about the trafficking for sex crimes? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, because it's insignificant. You're talking about 16-year-olds. Whoop-de-doo. Like, give a 16-year-old a job. Who cares?
Well, you realize we're talking about 16-year-olds.
If a 16-year-old can drive...
Aaron, you understand we're talking about 16-year-olds who have lost their lives, who have lost limbs, who have lost their ability to work for the rest of their life, right? We're talking about people who have endured not only physical but psychological
and what percentage
damage.
is that?
What
minor percentage is
no,
that?
it's a majority. You're 4 times more likely.
The majority
to be
of kids that
for
go to
labor.
work at a meat... If you work at a meat factory, the majority of people there are maimed. Is that what you're saying?
No, Aaron, all of these people, every single one of these was trafficked illegally to work
Okay, well then shut the fucking
illegally.
border.
Illegally.
Yeah, shut the
I'm
border
talking
then.
about forced child labor.
Yeah, that...
Yeah, and you don't
the
give a
Biden
shit. You don't
administration
give a
is
shit.
allowing-
Like you
just wanna
said,
go down
sold
here-
into slavery. That's what we're trying to
Yeah.
talk about, Aaron. Your own words. We're trying to help you out with
So,
how this
so
is
why
going
am I
down.
getting a freaking argument about and bringing up the laws about citizens that are here that they're trying to allow 16-year-olds to work?
Let me explain that to you also. They have to let me explain that to you. Let me explain that to you, Aaron. Let me explain that to you because you're fundamentally misunderstanding. They have to roll back those laws.
They have to roll back those laws, not specifically. I mean, yes, then children of citizens can also work in factories. That becomes true as well. But also because when they come, if there are little kids in the factory and the law says they can't be there, it's a problem. That's why they have to roll back child labor laws. So the business owners, the corporations that are trafficking or not that are doing the trafficking, but are allowing the labor exploitation can do it legally. Corporations are lobbying to be able to have children labor in factories legally.
If they're illegal, it's not legal. If they came over illegally, they're not there legally.
They were trafficked
So
here,
shut
dude.
down the border.
Dude, they were trafficked here. David.
Yeah,
no,
and that's
David,
my
Jesus.
fucking point, is that
Aaron,
they need to
Aaron,
quit
calm
fucking
down.
allowing
Aaron,
people to get
Aaron,
trafficked.
Aaron, calm down. Most of the people that come here that are
So you're
trafficked
okay
here-
with trafficking?
Aaron! Jesus Christ, buddy. Aaron, most of the people that come here illegally come through ports of entry. And most of them come here legally because it is not illegal to come to this country and visit. It's not. They come to visit and then they disappear. You think that the majority of the people are coming across the border illegally, sneaking through over the border.
Yeah,
it's
they
not
are.
true. Statistically.
Oh, they're making
speaking-
asylum claims and they're here legally, Aaron, and then they
No,
disappear.
they're being trafficked.
No,
They're
okay,
being
Aaron,
trafficked.
Aaron, you're not
The kids
grasping.
are
You're not
being
grasping what's
trafficked.
happening, Aaron. You're not grasping. Anybody can make an asylum claim and legally be in the United States, right? And then when those kids go missing, then they have been trafficked within the United States, but they are not in the United States illegally. You're missing what's happening.
Aaron, let me ask you a question. Would any of these kids show up to be
This is awesome how you
Aaron,
guys are totally
Aaron, hold
okay
on.
for trafficking
Aaron,
to happen.
Aaron, hold on.
It's
Aaron,
awesome.
Shush. Aaron, shush. I'm
No,
gonna ask you.
no,
I'm
it's
gonna ask you a
great.
question. Aaron, I'm
You
asking
guys
you a
are
question.
pieces of
Aaron,
shit, and you can go
Aaron.
fuck yourself.
Well, Aaron, I'm sure that's your only option is to do that to yourself. I get it. But let's just say this while Aaron rages on. First of all, Aaron's gross. Aaron is really gross. But Aaron, if you're still listening, if you want people to stop being trafficked, get rid of the people who are trafficking them. Get rid of the people who are luring them here. You're not going to bring children across the border to be trafficked for labor or anything else if there aren't customers here on our side. If there are not people here who are going to pay for that. You're going after the wrong problem. The root of the problem, the real evil, is not the children. It's not even necessarily the people bringing the children. The root of the evil is the people who are using children. And your party doesn't want to do a goddamn thing about that. In fact, they want to make it harder to tell if people are here illegally, if children have been trafficked here illegally to work, because there would be other legal 16-year-olds. Or they could be like, hey, I didn't know they were illegal. I know they're 16, but I didn't know they were illegal. Your party consistently makes it easier for children to be trafficked. It's what they do. They're either dumb or they're in on it. I like to think they're just dumb.
And if you believe that the Republicans are going to close the border, you need to look at who funds the Republican Party. Corporations who have interest in rolling back child labor laws. If you care about children, remember, we talked to another gentleman like this weekend on Nemo's Live who kind of, do you remember that guy? The 85,000 children or whatever. This is the new talking point. This is Marjorine's talking point of, the just to talk about closing the borders. They don't care about children because when you really break it down, they don't care. He said, oh, the children in factories, that's fine. They're getting paid. That was his response.
All right, go. What is this?
I have my store. I have another.
Okay, Theodore's coming up. He says he's part of the bourgeoisie. So I don't know. This might be a Felice question.
Hey everyone. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on which time. Depending on what time you're in. But just wanted to say, Felice, thanks for having me on the panel. Love your lives with Nemo as well. RTP Talks, thanks for having me as well.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were fucking with me there because everybody
Something
just says
that
this
he's
is
having
Felice's
trouble
live.
with is
So I
that
thought,
he's losing control of his own
yeah, I
life.
thought you were, I thought you were in on the joke. So I apologize for laughing. I now realize you were just being polite, but I thought you were making fun of me at first. So I'm sorry. Maybe you
No,
are. Who knows?
not at all. No worries. No worries.
Okay.
So I saw that you all were talking about child labor. I'm completely against that. However, I'm not opposed to folks migrating to the U.S. to find better opportunities with regard to like work opportunities for themselves. I know there's an issue though that they are not paid based on their efforts. So that is a problem. But if those immigrants coming here and working here is a better situation for themselves at the moment, then I'm all for that. Even though I know there are issues regarding that, though, larger systemic issues. I mean,
Yeah, I think we're probably in agreement with you there.
Yeah, as long as we're not talking about the children. But yeah, I believe work visas, we every study that we have, we have jobs that immigrants want to do. We should, in my opinion, be giving people work visas. Like we talk about, immigrants are paying taxes. They're paying into Social Security that they'll never collect. Day laborers are a huge industry that we need. We need day laborers with work visas coming over the borders to do the work that nobody in this country wants to do. So I completely agree.
you know what's interesting? Oh, sorry to cut you off. Go ahead, Felice. No, I was just gonna say, like, you know what's interesting? I saw recently, Arnold Schwarzenegger, former governor of California, was like giving some interview. I forget what the publication was, but he's basically for workers coming to the U.S. to work as well. But like for whatever reason, when he gave that interview, I took it as if he was trying to take advantage of workers and not give them enough rights or compensation. But I just found it interesting. So there are Republicans that do want this as well, but it's almost as if they're advocating they're advocating against this cause of having migrants come over here, but they're also benefiting from them working here at the same time. It's kind of a kind of playing both sides of the coin, if you will.
I could not agree more. That's if there was one fallacy I wish that people, well, on the far right, but I think establishment Republicans, the intelligent ones, fully understand. The Republicans have zero interest in fixing anything to do with immigration because the point is to keep these people without rights. If they don't, if the labor force has as few rights as possible, they can be exploited for cheap labor and increase private profits for the capitalists. And I think that's what we're seeing here. That's the exploitation is no, they don't want to give them rights. The capitalists don't want laborers, including us, but they want an extra workforce that have no rights, right?
Definitely, definitely. And one last point I wanted to add before I drop is just thoughts on like so we have like so President Biden and Trump, they both have advocated for bring jobs back to the USA, but do Americans actually want to pay made in the USA prices again? I don't think they can. And I'm coming from the standpoint of like I own my own clothing company. My clothes are all made in the US or England, and it is difficult to give a moderately priced product that is made in like a country that does have a decent or good standard of living. So I don't know if all Americans are used to that. They're used to fast fashion. They're used to fast products right now as cheap as possible. They don't really care about what it took to create that cheaper product, whether it's clothing or what have you.
First of all,
Gosh.
I don't like that you're working with the redcoats. I don't like that. Okay. We had a war about this, and here you are helping out the Brits again.
So, side note though, the irony of the US Revolution, what we're fighting for freedom, fighting for our rights, but who actually freed the slaves after the US Revolution? It was the British, ironically. And like the African Americans who fought for the US, they actually had to go back into bondage. So,
All right, well that fucked up my joke. I didn't like that.
Well, I
Damn you
I
and
wanted
your
to
knowledge
touch
of
on another
history.
thing. Theodore, this is the fast fashion is a fascinating conversation, right? And how it has shaped the fashion industry and capital and its effect on capitalism. When the advent of clothing becoming as cheap as possible and disposable, right? Like when we saw the advent of chains like Forever 21 and these chains, and actually fast fashion, didn't it actually originated in, I can't remember where in England, but there's, these brands, these online brands that have no overhead. They don't have brick and mortars, and they're selling clothes for as little as possible. Yeah. And what that has done, instead of sustainability in brands like let's say Patagonia, that comes with a life, you pay more, the quality's there, and you also get a lifetime warranty. I'm a big proponent of moving away from fast fashion. Yeah, the disposability of fashion is creating so much waste in our economy that it's crippling.
I definitely agree with you on that. Like in my opinion, we don't need like a summer wardrobe, a spring wardrobe, a wardrobe for every season, every occasion. Like it's okay to just buy investment pieces. Sure, they may cost a lot, but you'll probably have them for longer periods of time than you normally would in any other item. But yeah, RTP, Felice, thank you for having me, and a fan of you both, and have a great rest of the day, you all.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for that intelligent line of thought. That was great. We needed that after.
We needed a palate cleanser. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. That's it. All right. What's your story that you have, Felice? You're muted.
I just wanted to say, I just wanted to cover another thing. So yesterday, you know how Margarine is trying to impeach Mayorkas?
How many more times are you going to call her Margarine?
I've been calling her that. I have created, millions of hashtags about it.
I know. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. I'm just going to call her that because that's now what I think her name is. So yeah, she brought, articles of impeachment against Mayorkas again. Yeah. And they were going to try to table it completely. And yesterday, I think 8 Republicans voted with, I have the vote count somewhere. 8 Republicans voted to, 8 Republicans joined with Democrats to vote 209 to 201 to send her resolution to committees for possible consideration like any other bill. They are under no obligation to do anything. So that's a huge win for Democrats because it's one thing, like impeaching Joe Biden, many Republicans, the moderates are like, this is not, it for us. Like, we do not want to do this. But like impeaching Mayorkas for the border, that's something that probably there would have been support if it had been brought to the floor. But they had 8 Republicans vote with the Democrats to push it back.
Do you know which Republicans?
No, I don't have the list here. No, but I'm sure I can find it.
It's absolutely. Call them out. It's just it blows my mind that Republican voters don't see what's happening. Like this game is so obvious. The game is make Donald Trump look sane. The game is make everything look rigged against Donald Trump. So for Margarine here, she comes into Congress and just you'll hear her consistently saying, "Oh, from the second Donald Trump took office." They were trying to impeach him. It's literally what she did on day 1 of Joe Biden taking office. And since then, she has tried to impeach every fucking person he's brought forth. This is all she does, is try and impeach people. This is all the Republicans are doing. I would challenge a Republican to come up here and just point to something Republicans have tried to do since Joe Biden has been in office that would help the American people.
And not just stoking fear, not raising problems, but solutions-oriented thinking. This is all just to help Donald Trump's chances. You're absolutely right. Like, these are just talking points. I totally agree the border is broken. I agree that trafficking is a problem for labor and for other nefarious purposes. But there's a difference between coming up here to try to have a gotcha moment and screaming about Joe Biden's border and having a good faith conversation about why are neither Democrats nor Republicans invested in fixing it. Like, that is the larger conversation. And then what can we do about that?
The truth about the border is that there's not a fix for what's happening outside of completely restructuring our economic system. You cannot.
You don't need to tell me.
Yeah. Sorry, Felice is gonna have to go take a minute. She's getting.
Don't make me start screaming
She's
again.
like, "Ooh, that's
I was
wonderful."
reading Das Kapital again. Marx's like work on the problems with capitalism. It's sick.
Yeah, so what you have to do instead, because you can't fucking fix it, and clearly it's not a partisan issue. Since you can't fix it, what you have to do is scream loudly that the other person broke it. That's all you can do. And it's a great move for Republicans because so many of their voters are terrified of immigrants. Well, I don't know that. I feel like I'm trying to take a step back on saying, like, they hate immigrants. No, they're terrified of immigrants. They've been told to be afraid of immigrants. And so this stuff makes sense to them. If they can look at the problems in this country and they can blame anybody but themselves, terrific. This is great for them. If you can fearmonger about the border, that's great for them. But if you get real honest about it and say, hey, we have a fentanyl problem here because we have a drug problem here. And the drug problem here is not because people started bringing drugs over. It's because there was a market for those drugs. That's why the drug problem is here. When you talk about trafficking children for
There's
labor,
a market for slave labor here.
Exactly, for slave labor, or there is a market for sex trafficking. There is a market here, and we're not doing anything to fix the market here. Eliminate the market, eliminate the traffic.
I mean, you really want to, basic economics, these are commodities, right? And where people are bringing their commodities to the free market. Welcome to America. Like that is what is happening, and it's sick. And I just want to say this, like, not to harp on the white supremacy thing, but white people, this is for you. This is something interesting. Like, to say that Western civilization has been built on the patriarchy and white supremacy historically, it's not just to say, like, all white people, your life is great here. You guys are doing fine. No problems for you. It's the opposite, in fact. You also are being disenfranchised by the white supremacy and patriarchy. And here's how. Like, there's a great book that's written called, I believe it's called, like, The Wages of Whiteness. And it's talking about, in America, how we're all being robbed. It doesn't matter if you're white, brown, black, whatever. If you are in the working middle class and lower, you are being robbed by the bourgeoisie, by the 1%, by the capitalists. We are all being robbed. But in order to appease the white majority, they said, okay, we want to rob the white people, the middle class and lower class white people. We don't want them to notice those. So how can we make them feel special? Oh, I know, white supremacy. We'll say, hey, you're better than the black and brown people. You'll get pulled over less. You'll get sent to jail less. There's all these societal benefits that you're going to get. But hey, pay no attention to the fact that you are also being robbed blind.
What am I going to say to that? Yeah, I can't add anything to that. Let's go to my story. This is from, who was this from? This was from Newsweek, not Newsmax. How the U.S. funded China's AI ambitions. Have you heard about this?
But I would love to hear about it.
Okay, so Song Chun-ju is at the forefront of China's race to develop the most advanced AI. Again, AI is a topic recently that is close to my heart. I'm very interested in how AI can be used to deceive people, how AI can be used to trick people. I'm wary of AI just from personal experiences. But Song Chun-ju, I think maybe I want to say UCLA. Let me make sure. I want to say...
What's the name of the article real quick so I can look it up as well?
How the U.S. funded China's AI ambitions. It's Kirsten Tatlow. So it appears that now Song Chun-ju has come over here. I believe he was a professor at UCLA. Yeah, 18 years at UCLA's Center for... Oh, okay, not a professor. Center for Vision, Cognition, Learning, and Autonomy. Has received multiple grants, both during the Trump presidency and the Biden presidency. The first one, there's one here in 2021 for just under $700,000 to develop high-level robot autonomy. Another for $500,000 in 2020 to build cognitive robot platforms. And there was one more I'll have to find. Oh, there we go. In 2020, no, that's not it. So anyways, the story basically is just showing how what China is doing is China is now as they send students here and they teach students how to obtain government grants. They are now using our own government grants to fund their technology and then just sending that technology back to China. Now, at first I was like, when I read this, I was like, fuck China, right? Like, how dare they? And then I started thinking about it from the perspective of my Marxist communist co-host here. This is a good thing. This is a good thing for the 1%. This is a good thing for the people who rely on China to develop technology. It's a good thing for tech companies who want to be able to avoid things like copyrights and avoid things like patents and figure out a way around patents, or figure out a way to take a patented technology here in America and use it in other countries instead. It's brilliant for them. This is just another way for our 1% to incentivize working with China, and China is literally using our money to fund research so they can turn around and sell it to these tech oligarchs, so the tech oligarchs can benefit from all of this technology. It's just another instance of our corrupt system, and it happened under Trump. It happened under Biden. We don't seem to be doing much about it.
Yeah, I would say, like, when it comes to the tech industry, and I mean, these are the new billionaires, the billionaires of the billionaires. And so their sole goal, I used to be fascinated by the tech industry's lobbying in Washington and just how extreme it is. The tech industry is the Wild West still, and people lack in government the education. And I don't want to do this to your boy Mitt. I know you love him, and he's like your long lost father. But
fucking watch it. Just
at least
tread
he was
light.
honest. He was honest about it. He was
lightly
honest
with
about
Mitt.
it. Like, it's funny because the day he announced on CNN or whatever it was, or wherever, or on C-SPAN, that he was retiring, that morning, I had spent 4 hours in a congressional hearing in the Senate about the dangers of AI, and I was so angry. Like, I literally just watched a bunch of like 70-plus-year-olds asleep. They don't understand what these people are saying. They can barely get on their iPad. Literally, we had people snoring. This is like the biggest threat facing the world. I mean, literally, predictive models are predicting that AI is going to end human civilization, and we've got the senior citizens in the Senate asleep. And Mitt Romney said in his interview, he said, we need younger people who are up, understand these issues and what is shaping the world now. And he named AI, climate crisis. And I just thought, like, that's big of him to say and to acknowledge, because that was my takeaway from the AI hearing was, what the are we going to do? These people have no idea. Like, you saw it in the TikTok hearing. Like, we desperately need data privacy laws in this country. The answer is not shutting down TikTok and shutting down Americans' free speech. The answer is, just like in Europe, how about you give us data privacy laws? Oh, wait. The Congress is given billions of dollars by the tech lobby. They don't want data privacy laws. They want to be able to traffic our data all over the world.
The thing that I took out of, I didn't watch all 4 hours. I may have watched just highlights, but the part that I took out of that hearing more than anything is the advancement of AI and its role in like battlefield technology and the future of wars. We can chirp all, and we hear this all the time.
That's what Shane Morris does. He's an AI engineer that works for one of the largest government defense contractors.
Right,
I mean, that's what he
said
does.
his name. Now he's going to show up.
I mean,
that's how
I think
works.
he's fine with that. I think that's fine. That's I know we just conjured him like Beetlejuice.
We just conjured Shane. Yeah, but understanding that, like, the Republicans' fundamental misunderstanding of AI and technology in and of itself, the Republican Party is going to sit around. They're going to talk about how we need more soldiers, we need more tanks, we need more military people, and not understanding that we're handing out grants right and left in this country that are going to other countries where they care about AI, and if we're not at the forefront of AI, we lose our military superiority. We do. If we're not winning this battle, we lose
debates,
it. And if they steal all our technology, then where are we going to, like, we're not going to be ahead of anybody. And maybe that's good. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that'll end wars. Maybe
Well,
us
think
thinking
about
we
the
can't just take over
Republican
everybody
debates
might
that
work.
were geared towards MAGA. So think about how the MAGA voters want to talk about a physical wall, right? We need a physical wall on our southern border. And then at the Republican debates, you heard them getting into like all of a sudden those five weirdos on the stage are debating, well, I'm going to get us 600 ships and I'm going to get 601 ships, and they're debating how the number of ships determines the strength of military. No, our aircraft carriers are very much dominant in the South China Sea. Like the size of our ships matters as well. I mean, that's such a nuanced debate, but also like you're saying, the future of the military has nothing to do with we have to have one more ship than China or our military is failing. Like we're in an arms race for technology, specifically regarding AI. That's where our money needs to go. But the fact that like these Republican politicians aren't even speaking to that, they can't fathom it. That's terrifying.
Well, because acknowledging that there is a future and that future doesn't include the technology and the policies of the past is acknowledging that the Republican Party is dead.
It's conserving, right? The conservative
Correct.
party is about no change.
Right.
We fought wars a certain way. Let's keep building ships, and even though it's completely irrelevant and will get us nowhere. Or I have this idea in my head that the way to manage immigration is to build a physical wall, even though every study ever done by Republican think tank says a wall is in no way keeps people out of our country. That's what you need to know. That's why they want it, because it won't keep the laborers out.
The greatest wall ever made. The greatest wall ever made is a fucking tourist attraction now. Like, that's basically what it's there for. Like, I don't know if people know about airplanes and drones. I don't know if Republicans know about that. I don't know if people understand that there's things that fly in the sky, satellites that can find images. There's things in this that can fly through the sky without even a pilot. Like, we can drop off drug shipments by drone. You don't, like, Republicans literally are solving the only problem they think they can, which is the poorest of the poor who can't fly, can't come through a port of entry, can't pay to be snuck in here, can't get a visitor's visa and come in, walking across the border, because that's literally their only option. And Republicans see that and they're like, oh, that's a thing we can solve. We know how to stop people from walking. We know that we can put obstructions in their way so they can't walk. That'll solve fucking everything. It's this fundamental misunderstanding by Republicans that the world has left them by. It's passed by them, not left them by, passed by them. Technology has passed by them. So they're all solving problems from 40 years ago and thinking that they're brilliant. And that's why you hear them consistently talk about common sense. Every solution for Republicans, oh, it's common sense. Yeah, because like we all knew that the way to stop a person from walking past a space was put something in front of them. We knew that. But that's not the problem. The problem isn't that there's people walking. The problem is that there are things coming across the border that we can't stop, even with a physical wall. We can't do any of that shit. And Republicans are like, okay, yeah, I totally get that. So build the wall. They can't pivot. They can't go in another direction because that eliminates conservatism. Like, we're at the point with conservatives right now where everything they want to conserve is outdated and useless. It is. And I think that there's a benefit to having a conservative party. I think there's a benefit to having brakes. That's why I have them on my car. It's important for me that if I go too fast, I can slow down. And that's like the whole point of conservatism, to say like, hey, let's pump the brakes on some shit. But Republicans are just like sitting at a stoplight with the brake and the emergency brake on while we're trying to push the gas. And like, fuck that, we know the light's green, but we're not going anywhere because there's cars sometimes
and other cars are passing us by. Every other country is passing us by on the human development. We're just getting farther. We're just sitting at a dead stop while everyone passes by in education and technology and infrastructure in everything, and we're just, oh no, we're good. We can't move anywhere because then the Republican Party would be wrong.
There's two roundabouts by my house that go over like a freeway overpass, overpass. And every year when the snowbirds show back up, for like the first 3 or 4 weeks, you'll have 2 snowbirds just at a dead fucking stop. Because Although there is no car anywhere near them, they see other cars moving, and that terrifies them. There's no red light or green light. There's nobody directing them exactly what to do. They just know that they're not moving and everybody else is. So the solution is stay put. And that's Republicans right now. Everything around the world is changing. Technology is changing. Like, kids are smarter. There's more than two genders. And they're like, what the fuck? Like, breaks. And they just sit there. And they're like, eventually, if I sit here long enough, everything will come back to normal. And you're going to be there till midnight when there's no cars. And then you can drive along. But that's who you are. That's who they are now at this point. And they brag about it. And they think it's like a good solution to just stand around and do not a goddamn thing.
And if you guys are wondering why fascism, this is why. We're describing why. Because if you're not willing to change or move forward, and people and your constituency, like us, the American people, want to, then they have to control us, right? They have to take choice away from us.
Hello, wise guy. Welcome.
Hello. Aren't you guys getting exhausted talking about this stuff every day?
I don't know. I don't have anything better to do.
I was going to message you because I was just in Phoenix the other day, but I figured I was only there for about 24 hours, but...
Well, I hope you didn't get stuck behind a snowbird. That could have made it miserable for you.
No, actually I got stuck behind traffic. That construction they're doing on 10 is just horrible.
Yeah, we always have construction. Also, it could have also been a snowbird while you were in traffic. They don't like construction. I saw a snowbird stop on the freeway because there were lanes merging, and that they stopped, and they probably let 60. I was 2 cars behind them. They had to have let 60 cars go in front of them. They just thought, like, eventually this flow of traffic from my right is going to stop, and it will be my turn. And they just sat there while everybody just went around them. So they could have been that.
Right. So yeah, I hear you guys talking about how Republicans don't like immigrants and they don't have any policies and all that stuff. How do you feel about Venezuelans moving back to Venezuela from Chicago?
I don't know anything about that. You're gonna have to.
Well, they're not prisoners here if they want to move.
No, they're visa workers. They're seeking asylum here, but they figured it's not worth it because the American dream is no longer here.
I don't know anything about that. This is the first time I've heard anything.
Well,
about
I mean,
this.
that's a painful reality. I think that is true. America is in decline. You can say it's not. You can be delusional about American exceptionalism and think we're still number one, but in every category we certainly are not. So,
well, I mean, did you know that they were receiving, I guess, some kind of assistance, like $15,000 for 6 months? Just to get a place to rent in Chicago for asylum seekers?
Well, I don't know what the numbers are. I know that asylum seeker, their housing is provided for asylum seekers in some way.
Do you know how it's provided?
Well, I know there's a benefit, like, essentially it's provided through the federal government to the states.
Yep.
Through
the Catholic Church. That's one of the main ones that give them vouchers is the Catholic Church up there in Chicago. But they ran out of money last year.
Again, I think my take on this is just going to be kind of like the same. This has to do with capitalism. This has to do with CIA intervention. I used to live in I disappeared into South America for a long time. And you just got to see what has happened there firsthand. Like George Bush, HW, headed the CIA. His best buddy for life, Felix Rodriguez, directly responsible, led the destabilization of many of South America, culminating in the unaliving of Che Guevara in Bolivia. And we need to recognize why we have asylum seekers at our southern border and coming from South America, Central America. This has to do with us wanting privatized profit. We wanted American corporations to be able to move into Central and South America and benefit, and to take their natural resources, levy, whatever, and have control of their economies. And when that didn't happen, we embargoed, we did coups, the last coup, if you're aware, Donald Trump attempted a coup in 2020 in Venezuela. That's why the Venezuelans. And when the coup didn't work, the U.S., that's what we do. We do CIA coups, and it did not work, and then he embargoed. And
A
so
coup to
their
what?
economy
Like
there was a power vacuum, and their economy is in tatters, and that's why the
It's called
Venezuelans.
Operation Gideon, if you want to look into it.
a coup for what though? Like to overthrow the regime or?
You mean the government, Nicolas Maduro? Yeah, he tried to coup the government. Nicolas Maduro would nationalize the oil, among other things, right? And said, no American corporations, you're not going to make privatized profit off of our resources, our oil and gas that belongs to the people of Venezuela. We're going to nationalize our oil, and you're not going to see profit from it. Donald Trump no likey that.
They were drilling oil
And
in
we did a
Venezuela.
coup. No, Venezuela drills oil in Venezuela. That's the point. Nicolas Maduro won't let American corporations profit.
Off of Venezuelan oil. That's interesting.
When you do not let American corporations, if you know anything about South America, there are corporations own South American cities. Like, it's terrifying. Mines, oil and gas, refineries, all sorts of things. Like, there are entire cities where every sign is in Chinese. There are entire cities where the American corporations are literally, every single municipal building has the American corporation logo on it. It's terrifying what privatized profits are eating up South American countries.
And it's all at the hands of American corporations, or
Just American, all sorts of, European country. It's capitalism, baby.
It's an operation you can look at. It's called Operation Gideon. It was Justin Gordeau. He had like this private security firm. I think Maduro read the names of he had passports, American passports, 2 former Green Berets. He had their passports. They were captured. And he read them live on, I think, on Venezuelan TV. This is all stuff that we didn't hear a lot here, and Trump obviously denies it. But the attempt was to end Maduro's life. That's why they had special forces there. This was an actual attempt at a coup. It's what we do.
Done more coups than the American government. People are confused who the American government is in terms of foreign policy and what we're up to.
Yeah, I don't know much about South American politics, so I can't really add on to that too much. I was just curious what your opinion was about the Chicago residents pretty much going against the asylum seekers because they're taking their money that they would receive in benefits and use it for asylum seekers.
I mean, they're taking their money. I don't understand.
Like the assistance they would receive for housing assistance, they have no money for that anymore.
But that's a
vouchers
different
for
budget.
anything.
Federal budgets for asylum seekers have nothing to do with the budget for things like housing assistance.
Well, the funds in Chicago, the funds there were through HHS.
Or you're talking. Okay, so you're talking
the federal
about
funds were from it. The funds they
and
took
the total
to
amount of
house
housing
was from
essentially.
HHS. Yeah. So you're right about that. The question becomes this: what is the solution? You have a bunch of migrants coming from Venezuela, which we've destabilized. They're seeking asylum. What's the solution? Is the solution turn them back? Is the solution let them starve in the streets? Is the solution not to house them? This is the thing. It's really easy to criticize. It's really easy to look at the money. But what is the solution? And what's the humane solution that doesn't include spending money? I mean, if Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California, if we just used those federal funds and when we had the infrastructure down there near the border to house people when they're seeking asylum, we wouldn't have to send people to Chicago, to sanctuary cities. We wouldn't have to do that. But unfortunately, in Texas, you're not safe there. You show up from Venezuela, you're not safe in Texas. You show up in southern Arizona, you're not safe there. Why? Because it's full of a bunch of red-hatted MAGA who don't like brown people. You have to send them to places
That's
where
not
they're...
true.
No, it is
Yes, it is.
100% true.
We live in Arizona. Don't tell us
A lot
what
of
the
border
border's like in
towns employ
Arizona.
migrants. That's not true.
No, wait, what?
A lot of the border towns near southern Arizona, southern New Mexico, southern California, they're all red.
Yeah,
They employ them.
Agreed, but
hate
these
brown
people, you can't hire these people.
Yes, you
These
can.
aren't
It's called a
people
visa.
these aren't people you can hire. You really think, just being totally honest, you really think that in these small towns, by the way, most of these border towns are very poor. Most of them the people are not making a bunch of money. So you're telling me that these red-hatted MAGAs, if you look at the counties, you can look at the elections, these border towns are very MAGA. It's a lot of farm town. You're telling me that they're going to see a bunch of people come up from Venezuela across the border who are being given housing, food, and medical treatment, and they're not going to raise hell about that? They're raising hell about it in Chicago. You guys are upset about it happening in Chicago. Why would you
Chicago's
not
not a MAGA town, though.
No, hold on. That's what I'm saying. These MAGA folks are upset that it's happening in Chicago, but if it was happening in their own town, they'd just be cool with it?
It's not MAGA folks that are upset about it in Chicago. It's Chicago residents that are upset about it, that they're diverting their attention towards immigrants versus
Funds.
the residents.
Correct.
That are,
Correct.
They're getting no help. The grocery
Correct.
stores that closed down with Walmart. Where are
So
they going
what's
to go
the
shop? 20
solution?
minutes
So what's
outside
the
of the city?
solution here?
Focus on the residents. Like,
No,
we
no.
can
What is
focus
the
on the immigrants
what is
too.
the solution with the people that come to the border seeking asylum? What's your proposal then?
Get them a fast track to a permanent residence. Like, that's what I think.
do we do? Where do we put them?
What do you mean? Where do we put them? There's
They're
plenty of
at the
places
border.
outside of
They obviously don't live there. There's no food. There's no shelter. What do we do with people who come seeking asylum? Do we house them? Do we give them food? Do we give them medical treatment?
We already do all that, but apparently
No, I'm
it's not
asking,
enough.
do you think we should?
Oh, should we? Sure, yeah.
Okay, so
The
then what's
American
the
way.
issue here? Because that's what we're doing. We just have to do it in Chicago because it's safer for them.
It's not safer for them. They've been sleeping on the streets of the police precincts for the last year now. It's not safe.
I would say sleeping on a police precinct is a pretty safe place.
Not according to their words to the Venezuelans.
So what's the solution?
The solution is to find a better place outside of these asylum cities.
Where?
Well, I don't know where. Wherever there's jobs, wherever there's a safe place for them to go.
These aren't people that can work yet.
What do you mean they can't? They have been working under the table for cash. Some of them are going to Detroit, Michigan.
Legally, these people are not allowed to work, correct?
But they have ways to go.
I know
make money.
it feels like you're really dodging all of these questions. Like
you're asking for an answer, but you're not liking the answer I'm giving you.
You're not giving me any. You're not giving me any answers. You're saying that
you're like,
don't
can't
put them in
work.
Chicago. Put them somewhere else.
You're saying
okay,
they can't
where?
work, and I'm telling you they do work.
No, I'm asking you specifically. You said we don't put them in Chicago. I said okay, where? You're like, I don't know, someplace they can work. Well, they can't work, and then you're like, well, they're getting paid under the table. Okay, that's illegal labor. So I would agree with you. If we make that process easier, you come here. It's a 24-hour process. You come, you claim asylum. You now have authorization to work, and we're gonna provide some transportation, maybe to places where you can work. We're gonna provide some housing for you, some food for you, until you can get on your own 2 feet. Great. I'm on board with that. You know who's not going to be on board with that? Every single Republican.
That's not
There's
true.
no way they're going to approve funding for that.
No, they're for legal immigration. How many Republicans do you hear saying that they're against legal immigration?
That's just a catchphrase, but do they do anything to make immigration easier? Are they doing anything legislatively to make it easier for people who are immigrating, or are they focusing solely on making sure people don't enter the country?
They have been trying to focus on the backlog of data for the last 10 years at DHS at the border towns in southern Arizona and southern California.
I'm not blaming DHS.
Well, they're the ones that got to process their visas.
But they're not the ones that they're not the ones that approciate funds and pass legislation. You have to pass
who processes the visas?
Hold on. That's
processes
not what I said.
the visas. What is the...
What I'm saying is, if you're going to have to fund this. If you're going to make this easier, you're going to have to rebuild our system. You're going to have to make new rules, and you're going to have to fund it. And Congress controls the purse strings. Now, if somebody presented a proposal that said, "Hey, for these asylum seekers, here's the funding we need to get them on their own feet. Here's the housing that they need. Here's the transportation that they need. Here's where they need to go so that they can have jobs, and it's going to cost billions of dollars." There's no chance a Republican's voting for that. What they would do is they would say, no, let's build the wall first. Let's take care of Americans first. That's what they say about all of this. Every time we present a solution, it's the same fucking shit. Oh, there's homeless people already. We have to take care of Americans first. The veterans, we got to take care of the veterans first. Cool. Great rhetoric. That doesn't fix any of the problem. That's just rhetoric. You can't come to me with like no solution and just complain that this is happening. This isn't a partisan issue.
You want a solution?
Please.
Let's fix the EIN system, the employment identification number. Let's fix that. Because
How?
right now the IRS doesn't.
No, how?
even
Don't just
report
tell me
back.
a bunch of problems. No, I don't care. I don't care about more complaining. When
What
you
are
say
you talking
fix,
about? Do you want solutions?
tell me
I said
how
let's
to
fix
it.
that first.
Tell me how.
I don't know. I don't work.
Oh, okay. I don't know
work
how.
in a tax revenue system.
This
I
is
can't
the
tell you how to
problem.
fix. So what do you want? Solutions from average Americans? You want solutions from people that work in the
Well,
government?
I'd like some from Republicans, but they're not offering any. So when the people that support
You're
them
not
call
even
in,
listening.
I'm going to ask them the same question.
Host, you automatically jump within 10 seconds of me giving a solution, saying that's not a solution. That's not a solution.
You said
that's
you
just
didn't
more
have a
complaining.
solution. You just said I don't
Fix
have a
the
solution.
EIN system. The
How?
EIN system is corrupt because
How
they
do you
don't
fix
report
it?
to the IRS.
How?
Make it mandatory for them to report to the IRS.
Make it mandatory.
That's how
for
you
who?
fix it.
But that's,
who's
do you know
reporting
why
to
it's
us?
not mandatory? Because of corporate lobbying. Listen, yes, like you just have to understand, you've answered your own question several times. Like you're saying there's ways for the asylum seekers to work under the table. That's by design. Corporations want that. They do not want they already have a regulated workforce, right? That's what we have in America, people that have rights. They want an unregulated workforce that they can pay next to nothing, that they don't have to provide bathroom breaks for, insurance, all the things that become annoying about American workers. Republicans, you're voting for a party that is saying out loud, close the borders, but is funded by dark money from corporations that have no interest in fixing the problem that is clearly bothering you.
Dark money doesn't just come from Republicans, and you know that.
Okay.
Could you answer? No, stop this. This is why you piss people off.
She told you off?
Yeah, she told you exactly what was going on. She told you what the problem was, and instead of you addressing that, you decided to make it a partisan thing and say, well, it's not just Republicans. Why don't you address anything that she said instead of just saying like, oh, it's not just Republicans?
Because it's not. If you want me to address the situation,
nobody asked
as
that.
a whole,
Nobody asked who it was.
Okay, 10 seconds again. Let me have more than 10 seconds.
No, answer the question. You don't get 10 seconds to ramble on. I'm asking you why don't you address that? What she said.
To address the corporate
she said
dark
all of that, and you're like,
on the
well, it's
Republican
everybody.
side? Sure.
Everybody does it.
Let's address the corporate dark money on the Republican side, and let's fix all those issues while ignoring everything else that's happening.
It's not
let's
about
just
the
focus
so
on
this
that.
is the problem. This is the problem. You don't understand. You're making this a Republican side. There are also Democrats. There are also Democrats that take that dark money, places like West Virginia, places like where they have a bunch of manufacturing jobs. It's not a Republican or Democrat issue, but what it is it's something that all Republicans are cool with. All Republicans go along with these lack of solutions, and some Democrats. I dislike all of them equally. I think all of them equally should share in the blame here. But remove Republican, remove Democrat, stop seeing it through a partisan lens on just this issue and say, like, is there dark money that wants this type of illegal labor so that they can pay less wages? Absolutely. So let's just pretend, for argument's sake, it's all Democrats. I don't care. We should fix it, right?
So what would your solutions be?
We should fix it, right?
Yeah. What would your solutions be to fix it, right?
Great question.
What would your
Well, you're voting for a party, that's what we're trying to say, that exclusively will never fix it.
Give me solutions.
Now, okay, so why don't you start researching progressive candidates who are lobbying for immigration reform, for human rights at the border, for human rights for asylum seekers, right, to correct these problems, including trafficking and trafficking into labor pipelines of the children, and vote for those candidates, progressive candidates.
Like the ones that are in place right now that have
See,
no idea.
not going to answer it. Not going to answer it. No, answer the question. See, it's just a question. Like the ones that are bad. The ones, no, everything you do is a deflection. Shush.
Did you ask me a
question? No, but okay, so keep voting for Republicans, and I
directly.
guarantee you, your problem, sir, will never be fixed. You are voting against your own interests. You're screaming about having an issue with you're yelling about an issue and you're voting against your own self-interest. That's what you're telling us. This is contrary to logic.
So you want me to look into what, Felice? What do you want me to look into? Name some people that I'll write down their names and look into them.
No, I don't. Listen, I'm going to guess you're in Illinois.
Who do you want me to look into, Felice?
Why are you screaming at me? Listen, I'm going to guess you're from Illinois because you've been yelling about Illinois. So
No, I'm
what
from
I would
South
say,
Dakota.
I'm not
No.
okay. You're from okay. You're from South Dakota. Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. The MAGA talking point of just yelling at Chicago. I yelling about Chicago. That's my fault. I should have known you were from South Dakota. I lived in Sioux Falls for a year.
That's
So
where I live. I've been living
okay.
there for
Well, I
7
lived in
years.
downtown Sioux Falls. So don't
Yeah,
even.
we got one of the
I
biggest and
kayaked around that
safest
river.
migrant
I
cities
kayaked
in
around
South
that river.
Dakota.
Listen, I'm not going to debate. There's so many issues in South Dakota. We don't even need to talk about it. But what I am
course.
going to say, yeah, South Dakota, you need to look up progressive candidates voting for Democrats, right? Who are saying, bringing up comprehensive solutions for immigration. But it sounds like in South Dakota, I mean, so do you care about this issue, or is this the talking point you wanted to yell about?
Obviously, I care about it if I know something. I brought it up to the host. He doesn't even know what happened with the Venezuelans that are migrating back to Venezuela.
Wait, well, I'm sorry that I didn't know that some Venezuelans are migrating back to Venezuela. Sorry about that. You don't have any. The problem here is that what you want to do, just like what all Republicans want to do, is complain. And I discussed this earlier. There's no solutions. You guys just want to sit around, pump the brakes, and complain about shit. You want to look at some progressive ideas? Go look at Bernie Sanders' ideas on how to solve the issues at the border. He wants to issue a moratorium on deportations until an audit's complete, reinstate and expand DACA and develop a humane policy for seeking asylum, completely reshape and reform our immigration enforcement system, breaking up ICE and CBP and redistributing their functions to proper authorities, people like judges, people like HHS, dismantle cruel and inhumane deportation programs, and live up to the ideals as a nation. Now, he can detail this. You can go to berniesanders.com/issues/welcoming and safe America all, and he can go through the details every step of the way of the plan that he actually has for a more humane system that addresses the actual problem we have, that we have asylum seekers at our borders from countries that we have destabilized. By the way, keep talking to me about Venezuela and me not knowing about some people going back when you didn't even know about the coup that we attempted. Keep talking to me about my lack of knowledge. Like, one of those two, no, I'm not done yet. One of those two things is important. One of them is a dumb fucking thing that you said. But again, I'm giving you an example of progressive policies. Repeal U.S. Code Section 1325, putting border crossings on par with other forms of immigration violations, such as overstaying a visa. These are specific codes. End the priority enforcement program. Repeal the 1996 immigration law. Repeal 3 and 10-year bans. End permanent deportation. End expedited removal. End mandatory detention. Restore case-by-case discretion. Restore the definition of aggravated felony to its initial intent, violent crimes and serious drug trafficking. End the constitution-free zone within 100 miles of the border. These are all real solutions that at least progressives are trying, and your party's whole solution is build the wall. Build the wall. Look at Chicago. Look at the sanctuary cities. People are going back to Venezuela. You offer zero solutions and a bunch of bitching. That's it. That's the whole thing. All you've done is complain this whole time. You haven't offered one solution. I just read Bernie Sanders' solution for you. Could you give me a better solution?
Could I give you a better solution? No,
Yes,
I
please.
couldn't.
No, you couldn't, because you just want to complain. You're up there in South Dakota where the border's not affecting you, not one tiny little bit. You just want to sit there and bitch and moan with your friends in South Dakota about all these brown people coming to the country that apparently are ruining the country. But you don't know what to do about it.
Brown people?
You don't follow
That's
anybody
weird
that
how
wants
liberals
to do
always like
anything
to use
about it.
color as segregation. Oh, look at the Republicans. They hate brown people. I've never once mentioned brown people. Never once.
Well,
Never
the
once.
cool
But you
thing
have
about
multiple
Republicans,
times.
this is what you guys get to do as a Republican, as somebody who was a Republican and sat there. The thing is just because you don't openly say, I don't like brown people, doesn't mean that your policies aren't racist.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, which 1996, what was that? Who voted that in?
Oh, he's trying to do the crime bill. That was 94. That was 94, sir.
You know who voted it in? You know who voted it in, wise guy? Fucking everybody. It passed with like 90. It passed with like 90%.
Who was president?
Almost everybody, all the Republicans voted for it
listen,
too,
you have
sweetheart.
to know. Listen, I want to have an intelligent conversation, but like you have to know certainly, and you should know if you want to have conversations about immigration in good faith, that who the president is not what's driving immigration law or immigration
Trump
reform.
was responsible
So
for
stop
everything.
saying. No.
Okay.
Have I ever said that? I have never mentioned
Never
Donald
said
Trump.
that to you.
I have said over and over, it's capitalism. We live in an economic system in which the exploitation of cheap and slave labor is required. We are looking for pipelines of cheap and slave labor. That's what's happening. It's our economic system. It's not unique to Democrats and Republicans. Now, Democrats, yes, the progressive candidates on the far left, those are the ones that are looking to actually make immigration reforms. Like, people don't really understand with Remain in Mexico, Title 42, what was happening with that. It's the talking point of saying, oh, the trafficking and these are problems. Well, that's what was going on when we were forcing asylum seekers who we destabilized their countries. They'd make it to our border where they legally, it's the rule of law in our country, can seek asylum, and then force them to stay in these unstable border towns on the Mexican side of the border where they were then being exploited and trafficked into our economy as well. So, I mean, these are issues we have to look at. If you really want to fix it, we have to look at who wants to fix it. But yeah, I am not like a gotcha person. It is capitalism. That's why we're exploiting labor. We Americans are being exploited for our labor, but the goal being to have more specialized labor that costs a little bit more. And the immigration issue is fueling that cheap slave labor pipeline that Americans have sort of evolved past and are refusing to fill the jobs for. That's the problem.
Honestly, I think we're going away from that with the people that are being turned around and they're not wanting to take those farm jobs. You look at Florida when he wanted to enforce the E-Verify policy or the E-Verify rule, whatever it was that he passed to make sure that the immigrants and the corporations were doing their check-ins and their mandatory evaluations on how many people are not reporting in, and they started fleeing. That really gave you an eye-opener of like, wow, okay, we can make this work, but they fled.
Wait, hold on. You're missing the rest of that story. So that he passed that law and you started seeing people flee, and then you started seeing the communication from Republicans behind closed doors. You started seeing emails just letting these employers know, hey, just so you know, like, this is just tough talk. We're not really going to enforce. There's no enforcement mechanism, and there wasn't an enforcement mechanism. It was rhetoric, and that's why that momentary flee of jobs, it all came back because they were never going to enforce that. And you can look it up to this day. They haven't enforced that. There's been no funding towards it. There's no mechanism to enforce that. It was just Ron DeSantis running for president and trying to talk tough about immigrants. But what happened is he had a bunch of donors get pissed at him and be like, hey, dude, like, you're fucking with our income here. That's why they never enforced it. See, the rhetoric on the surface from Republicans seems serious, but every time you look behind closed doors, every time you look at their actual policies, there's always a cutout for people to continue to have illegal labor and cheap migrant labor. There's always a cutout. They never enforce it. They never go after the companies that are doing this, ever. Republicans don't do that.
When they try, what was the first news story that you saw about Ron DeSantis? That racist man's trying to enforce racist policies against the immigrants that just come here for a better life, right? How many of those articles did you read?
0.
Really?
I don't read that type of shit. If there's an article that says Ron DeSantis is racist, I'm not reading it because it's already a biased article. You know what I did read? I read, I think it was an executive, or I can't remember if it was an executive order or if it was a proposed bill. I can't remember which one it was. But I read it and I quickly realized there's no enforcement mechanism here. None. 0. Zip. This is tough talk. So I've been in the game long enough, dude. I've worked for Republicans long enough. I know when they're lying. I know, like, and they're not the only ones that do it. But this tough talk shit without any backing is the problem. You want my solution? My solution's better than Bernie Sanders too, but nobody will do it because everybody's cowards. Legalize drugs, all of them. Legalize all drugs.
Decriminalize.
Decriminalize all drugs. Decriminalize sex work. Do both of those things, and then use the money that you're going to put towards the border and use that to enforce going after employers who hire illegal labor, who hire children, who hire people who aren't authorized to work here. Spend all of our money on that. Get rid of the demand. we can get rid of the demand much easier than we can get rid of the supply. The reason I know that is because for as long as we've been fighting the war on drugs, for as long as we've been fighting the war on illegal labor, we've been losing, and we keep getting worse at it. So that's not going to work. We clearly know we can't win on that end, so get rid of the demand. Stop giving people a reason to come here and do illegal things. If
And there's
no
precedent
jobs, if
for
nobody
that.
can work, if nobody can work illegally, nobody's going to come here and work illegally. If there's no reason to bring drugs across the border, then nobody's going to bring drugs across the border. But these are unpopular because people are scared. People are afraid that they think that legalizing this stuff just is the same thing as saying, go do drugs, go be a sex worker. And it's not. It actually fixes the problem. But everybody in Congress, everybody in Washington is too cowardly to actually propose this because they'll lose an election. And that's the problem with our country. The most simple, the most right answer is staring us in the face, and everybody is too cowardly to do it.
So you're saying decriminalizing is the pathway to solving everything?
Well, statistically, in terms of decriminalizing illegal substances, you can look to developed countries like Portugal, who have had immense success. All sociological studies show that if you care about solving the issue of addiction, then you do not fight a war on illegal substances like we do. What you do is you invest, you decriminalize, you don't send people to jail. We have 25% of the world's prisoners. Now, Wise Guy, you're going to love this. You know, I keep talking about capitalism and the slave to cheap labor pipelines. You know where slave labor is still legal? In our prisons, 14th or 13th Amendment, legal slavery still. So we have to keep funneling people into for-profit prisons for that slave labor. And how's it easy to do that? Drug crimes. That's one of the ways we do it. So we can't decriminalize drugs. We don't care about actually helping people with addiction. We need to funnel people into our for-profit prison system. But research shows that education and rehabilitation, decriminalization, education, rehabilitation, Portugal is a great example of this, is how to solve that problem. We have no interest in this country in solving our problems, just screaming about them.
Yeah, but that's both sides. I can see it both sides, but more Republicans than not. I understand that point. You know, I'm not going to deny that it's more Republican talking points than it is Democratic talking points. You know, it is what it is. But, you know, when I look at the solutions you're giving me, or I listen to the solutions you're giving me, and I see them work in effect, like say Denver, Colorado, and you know, and then you see this some of the negative effects as well, which is an increase in the homeless population because people are migrating to the cities for a better life because it's legalized.
Wait, but the homeless population
right?
but the homeless population in Denver, that rise in homeless population is pretty much on par with the same rise, like statistically, as Salt Lake City. And Salt Lake City doesn't have any of that. What you're seeing, like you're misattributing homelessness to the drug issue. The homelessness is almost always linked to one indicator and one indicator only, and that's the affordability of housing. For every percentage point you go over, if your income, if you pay more than 32% of your income to your housing, every percentage point it goes above that, homelessness drastically increases. And you saw that in Denver as it grew. You saw it in Salt Lake City. You see it in San Diego. You see it in Los Angeles. I'm seeing it in Phoenix. In every major city, as the cost of housing rises, so does homelessness. You're misattributing that.
Which goes to your Chicago point, too.
Right. You're misattributing that to legalizing
We need to talk about
psychedelics.
BlackRock. We're allowing companies who own companies like Zillow to buy up all of the real estate and keep them as rental properties.
Nobody is arguing for that on my side. We're not arguing for BlackRock to take up all the homes and put them as rental units. We're not for that. We want cheap, affordable housing units. We don't live in big cities. Like I said, Sioux Falls is 180,000 people. It's not a big city, but it's big enough for me to stay out of it. You know, I'm on the outskirts of a town, and it's cheaper on the outskirts, and it's everywhere, including Denver. If you go to I can't remember what the next city is, going to the east of about 20 miles, but the rent's cheaper, just 20 miles outside of the city. But nobody's going to go travel 20 miles just to live somewhere where it's cheaper. They're going to live where everybody else lives.
Wait, so, well, here's the problem with what we're talking, like, when you when you increase the cost of housing, right? When it gets above that 32%, a lot of things start to happen. Number one, like the rise of depression. You have generally you'll have a rise sometimes in drug use. You'll have a rise in people losing their insurance. You have a rise in divorces. You have a rise in domestic abuse because these struggles with money, like, they infiltrate everybody's lives. So it's not that just like people can't move. It's not like that their housing got too expensive and eventually they just quit paying their bills and went homeless. It's all the other stuff that leads to somebody being unhoused. Like, if you just can't afford where you're living and you handle it correctly, exactly what you're saying is true. People will move out to the suburbs, but that doesn't usually happen. Sometimes you can't get out. Sometimes
Moving's
you
a
don't,
privilege.
like,
That's what you got to get,
yeah,
wise guy.
it's
Moving is a
expensive to
privilege.
move.
It requires funds. It requires capital to relocate. There are people, when you're in a situation on the borderline of unhoused, in poverty, there's no moving. That's how you socially engineer a group of people out of existence, because relocation takes capital, and that's the issue. And to go to your point, RTB, which I think is fabulous, and I love this conversation, is let's talk about universal health care, wise guys. Should you be able to go to the doctor regardless of, you know what I mean? Not regardless of who employs you. Should your children be able to go to the doctor? We're all one trip to the ER away from a medical bankruptcy. It's the number one form of bankruptcy in this country. Our healthcare system is broken. Now imagine if we could all go to the doctor when we were sick, right?
Can you not do that now?
No.
Not without the threat of literally going into debt. Like, if you don't have health insurance and you're just sick and you go to the hospital, you can't afford that. Now you owe that money. Now you're in debt. If you break your leg, you don't have insurance. You just can't pay your $15,000 deductible. Like, that's the part that you're not understanding. Like, the number one reason for people to go bankrupt is health cost, medical costs. It's the number one reason, 60%.
But okay, so I want to hear some of the studies you guys have read over this universal health care, or at least projected studies.
Sure.
What's the estimate of taxes that we're going to pay?
It depends on the study. There's a bunch of different studies, but the main thing is that you have to look at it just on dollars and cents, right? Dollar for dollar. Now, some people's taxes would go up, some people's taxes wouldn't go up, but the average American pays $12,000 a year for their healthcare costs. Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All, depending on which study you're looking at, ranges anywhere from like $8,000 a year to just a little over $12,000, almost $13,000 a year. So it's virtually the same cost. The difference is there's no copays, there's no deductibles, and the 30 million people, I actually saw it now, it's 50 million. 50 million people who currently don't have insurance, can't go see a doctor, all of those people are immediately covered. It also allows us to negotiate lower these are based on, by the way, these projections, largely the ones that Republicans put out, are based on the idea that we'll pay the same for our pharmaceuticals that we pay now, which absolutely wouldn't happen. The price of our pharmaceuticals would drop drastically.
Imagine if
Probably
we all
a fourth of the
negotiated
price.
against Big Pharma together.
Yeah, okay.
But that's what universal healthcare is. It gives us collective bargaining power as a whole. That's what we want to be able to do. Right now, Big Pharma is negotiating with insurance companies individually. When you think about Medicare for All, it's not about the government's not going to, like, doctors won't work for the government. Hospitals are still private. They're still corporations. It's just the government becomes the insurance company. We're cutting out insurance companies.
Right. So therefore, the doctors do work for the government, because who pays the doctors?
That's not how.
The hospitals.
Hold on. Wait, wise guy. So do the doctors work for the healthcare companies right now?
Yeah.
Do they work for the health insurance companies?
Yeah.
No, they don't.
So who do they get paid by?
They can get paid by the health insurance companies, but that doesn't mean they work for them. Like, if I own a store and I sell apples, like, and you work for me, and you're the Honey Crisp section manager. You run all the Honey Crisp. That's my favorite apple. And I pay you for that job. Do you work for me, or do you work for the people who bought the apples?
I work for you.
You work for me, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not selling insurance to apple
farmers.
farmers.
So the doctors treat the patient, and the patient pays the doctor. That's how that works. The only difference is the government sends the money instead.
processes
way.
the claims.
We've already paid into it. We're taxed on it. The government holds that money. The claim is processed, and they reimburse.
Do we get to choose our doctor?
Yes.
And a government paid system, we do?
Yes.
Yeah, the hospital's not going to. The hospitals are going to stay the same. We're not like things aren't changing. It's just the government is the insurance company, and you have collective
There are
bargaining power.
systems. This is where it gets convoluted because there are systems like in Britain, for example, where like the doctors, the nurses, like they are employed by I guess the UK, like they are
Like the National Health Institute or NHI.
Yeah, they
or
are
NIH.
government employees. But Medicare for All is not advocating that we take that over. Medicare for All is advocating that we take over just paying the bill. So there are places where you can have universal health care and it is run by the government. I'm not a fan of those systems. I wouldn't support that system. I'd much prefer Medicare for All, Bernie Sanders' system, because it gives the doctors autonomy. It allows them, like, if they want to work harder, they want to put in 16 hours, whatever, like they can make money. It keeps their incentive. If you have some of those doctors who, like, they really want to make more money, that incentive still exists for them. They're not just all on a salary where some people might not want to work hard. Fine. But it also allows us on our end to negotiate fair prices. Right?
Right. So how can you give me a system that works where the doctor gets to negotiate their pay under universal health care?
Yeah, everywhere. So we're ranked like 14th right now as far as outcomes go for universal healthcare, and that's talking about satisfaction. That's talking about outcomes for surgeries. That's talking about general health. That's talking about life expectancy. We're number 14. The 13 in front of us, they all have universal healthcare. Every single one of them. We're basically the last.
That wasn't my question.
Wait, hold on. Yeah. So your question is, do they get to negotiate? Yes, most of those
doctors. Well, yeah, no, but
yes,
listen, doctors are commodities, right? Let's just take an example of a surgeon. It's a commodity. It's specialized labor. So yeah, they negotiate what their specialized labor is worth when it comes to the market.
And if they ask for too much, the government, like, because we're negotiating as a group, the government can say no, like, we're not going to pay that.
But can you give me a system that is actually working where the...
Well, what I was just saying was with hospital systems,
Luxembourg.
Right? Like a hospital that's hiring surgeons. When you come out of medical school, when you're a surgeon, it's like being an athlete, right? That's looking to go to an NBA team. Hospitals are competing for you. You're a commodity in a market, and you are worth what a hospital will pay, depending on how specialized your skill is, like how bad they need that type of skill, etc. Like your labor is still valued in a free market.
Can I ask, though, why are you so concerned about the doctor's ability to negotiate their own pay? What's your big concern there?
It's not a big concern. I just want a system that you say works. So obviously there should be something that comes to mind when it comes into, doctors negotiating their pay. Who's to say that a doctor shouldn't get paid more than somebody working in a fast food restaurant when it comes to universal health care?
Oh, you got to get away from that, wise guy. A single unit of labor is worth a single unit of labor. Time is a finite resource. Us working 60 hours is the same as another person working 60 hours, 100%. That's one of the lies of capitalism. Labor is labor.
So
a single unit of labor is a single unit of labor. But
so
I agree. No, but there is specialized labor in a market, right? When you bring a commodity to a market, which a doctor is saying, here are my marketable skills that I have, developed in med school. And yeah, hospitals who are looking to acquire a surgeon or a doctor compete with each other and value those skills at market. Right. So doctors aren't losing their ability for their skill set to be valued.
Right. I'm all for the universal healthcare idea. I think it's fantastic, but the only issue is, how do we get rid of all of our debt that we accumulated over the last 30 years with the medical bills?
Well, who are they going to owe that money to?
I said, how do we get rid of it?
Well, who are they going to owe that money to?
I don't think that answers the question.
It does answer that question.
Who do they owe that money to? The loan, whoever insures the loan. Yes. Okay. So how do we pay for it?
So those people, we can do one of two things. We can either say to people, yeah, you still have to pay off your medical debt, or the government can pay that off.
Okay. So the medical company pays it off, and then if they don't want to do it, then the government does?
No, the government pays it off.
Oh, just the government?
Sure. Well, those are the two options, right? We can say to the when you say medical company, are you talking about the debt that people owe, like the individuals that owe? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about the accrued debt when you go to get surgery and you don't have insurance, that debt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these health insurance companies who foot that bill, they'll be gone. They won't exist anymore.
Right. So does that debt just go away
So
with the companies disappearing, or what?
yeah, I mean that when a company goes under, that's what happens. Like
Okay.
you don't pay the debt to those companies anymore.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. The thing is like if you look at our system, we're far from the best system in any like the only thing that we're best at is paying the most. That's virtually the only thing that the United States does better than every other country in the world is pay more. Like our
Right.
outcomes aren't better. I just saw a report today that that life expectancy for men in this country now has dropped again. It's down to 73 years. Meanwhile, if you go over into the UK, you look at I think in France, in Italy, like the life expectancy is 80. There's a lot of things we could fix. Part of that has to be the FDA's. Part of it has to do with the amount of the stuff that we eat, our diet. But a lot of that also has to do with the fact that we don't have good medical care. Even for
It,
me,
well,
like my insurance, like people with good insurance, you have copays and you have deductibles. I was talking to a friend who's a pharmacist, and here's what he told me about it. I'm trying to remember the drug he was pointing at. There was a drug that he charges $2 for. Oh no, this was a video I watched. Actually, this wasn't from my pharmacist friend. Pharmacist gets charged $2 for a drug. He sells it for $4. But if somebody comes in that has either Medicare or health insurance, he's not allowed to tell them how much that drug costs. So he gives them the drug. He charges them a $10 copay, and then the drug company, and then he reimburses the drug company. So the way his margins worked out, he makes less, and the customer pays more. That's
right.
wild, right?
Yeah, it
If he
sucks.
just sold it, and it's because of our system, and we've put mechanisms in place where these healthcare companies they don't want us to know how bad they are, just like fucking us right in the ass, and so they have lobbied to have laws put in place so that we don't have transparency. There are laws in place so that we don't know where that money is going because these are privately held companies. And these are privately held companies, by the way, with billions of dollars in revenue. Do you really think that it's important for a CEO to make $20 million because he paid the bills for other people? Like he just set up a mechanism so that people give us money, then we pay their medical bills, and then we keep a huge chunk of it. Do you think that's a good system?
Do I think it's fair?
No, good.
Not a lot of
Absolutely
good.
not.
Do you think it's
Yeah,
a good
not
system?
not a lot of things are fair, but
No,
I'm not going to
good.
agree to
No,
something
good.
just
Not
because
fair.
it's
Good.
not fair, right?
No, good. Wise guy. I'm saying good. Do you think it's a good system?
Do I think it's a no? I don't think it's a good system.
So
I
why
think we
don't
should
we
have
just
something
get rid
better.
of it?
Well, we have to have something in place of it before we get rid of it. We can't just say,
Medicare
well,
for all.
okay, let's get rid of it.
Yeah, Medicare
Well,
for
okay,
all.
we would have to slowly like fraction it into place. Like, let's start with a quarter of the population and see how it works over, let's say, 4
We
years.
have. What do you think Medicare is?
And look how great it's working out.
Medicare.
Well,
yeah,
we
so
also have a socialist medical care system functioning in this country. It's called It's called the VA. And so, yeah, Medicare for All is essentially an expansion of what the VA is doing. That's what's happening already.
And if you look at both of those, wise guy, despite the criticisms that you can have about both the VA and Medicare, both of them produce better outcomes than private healthcare insurance. Both of them have better customer satisfaction, and both spend more money on the patients. On
You
average,
say the VA
healthcare
has better customer satisfaction?
better outcomes both for customer and actual health outcomes. The VA does better than private hospitals.
I would love to know where your source is on that one because I
Okay.
would definitely dig into that. That's interesting.
Yeah, do you understand like the criticisms that people generally have about the VA? They have this idea that people you can't get the care you need and they're deciding whether people live or die. Do you understand in private insurance companies right now that is the conversation that is happening? Is rescission? Who to cover, who not to cover, when to cover, and when to let people die. These are happening in private insurance companies. Privatized profit is the goal. They want to cover less people for fewer things. That's the goal, is to cut people out of coverage.
This
What's
was a
the
study
source
that
there?
was this is from va.gov. It's the Pittsburgh Health News. A Department of Veterans Affairs studies found that veterans who undergo non-cardiac surgery at VA hospitals have a 40% lower adjusted risk of 30-day mortality than in the private sector. So for basically any surgery that you're getting outside of non-cardiac, and that's because the VA doesn't do like cardiac. Those are, you're going to a specialist for that. You have a 40% lower adjusted risk of mortality than in the private sector.
What is the adjusted risk in that? What is the factoring in that?
I can pull up the exact. I'd have to pull up the exact methodology. Give me 1 second.
That's interesting, because I know personally from my experience watching my dad deal with the VA for 30 years, it's horrendous.
It is, but
that's
like my dad, stage 4 cancer, took him almost 6 weeks to get his chemotherapy approved through private insurance, and he had great insurance. So
that's through private, right?
With my dad, yeah. I'm just saying that exists in No, that was my dad. My dad was a contractor. Okay. But I'm saying that like those exist in the private sector as well. All the things that we are fearmongered about with universal healthcare, all of those things actually happen in private healthcare as well.
That's the point I was making, is like every criticism you're like, oh no, like this isn't going to work. It's already going on. Like that's what we're facing now.
I would like to see it be improved and not hear the stories that I'm hearing from the other side of the aisle, because there's a lot of Republicans that are, in the military that are retired, and they're having nothing but issues, and the stories I hear from them, and on top of that I hear some liberals as well that don't agree with the things that you guys are saying, but I don't know if you guys hear that on your TikTok, on your
I hear it, but I'm much more interested in numbers over anecdotes. And here's some things I do know. When you compare like private health insurance, on average $2 to $3 out of every $10 is spent on the patient. So out of $10 that comes in, $2 to $3 of that is spent on the patient. When you're talking about the VA and Medicare, it's $7 to $8 is spent on the patient. Why? Because there's no profit center. They're not incentivized by their stock price. The CEOs of these companies, all they care about is their stock price. So you have more money actually being spent on the patients with both the VA and Medicare. Now, both of those are underfunded. We do need to do a better job funding it. And the other problem with both of those programs is they're not subsidized by healthy people, right? Most people on Medicare, Medicaid, those are people that are high risk for health. So, and we're not funding that all together as a group. Same with the VA. The VA has a lot of people who are dealing with ailments, even related to just the mental health side of it, just the PTSD, but you have the ailments from war. These are all high risk medical reimbursement programs or medical programs that are doing a better job than private health insurance, while they don't have the safety net of like a healthy base that's paying for it.
Didn't the VA just pay out a huge settlement to African American vets?
I heard about that. I didn't read the details of it. I don't know if
it was just this year. They settled like $20 million or something like that. It was over a case of
Stan, how many medical malpractice lawsuits are paid out? That's not unique. Like that's not that. Like what we're saying is, sure, there's lawsuits in medicine all the time. Like I don't know if you know, but misogynoir, like especially it's women, it's African American women who are treated most poorly. It doesn't matter if it's socialized or private healthcare systems. They have worse outcomes. They die more often.
Yeah, pregnancies. I know that.
Yeah,
because
it's very scary.
Don't study. Yeah, they don't study the pain tolerance in women.
Yeah, wow, look at you.
Yeah, a little bit of wokeness out of South Dakota.
I don't think that's wokeness. That's just being aware of what's going on through listening to people. I think people underestimate Republicans and say we don't listen, we like to complain.
No, that's what woke means, being aware.
No, it's not.
Well, I know that's not how you guys use it, but that's kind of like what it means. Aware is woke. Yeah, that's how we use it. You guys just use it differently.
But getting back to the point there, I think I would like to see more corrective measures in terms of making sure that everybody's getting taken care of. And if we do see that in, let's say, 2 years, and they do a really, like, it goes up to 98%, people are getting approved real quickly, getting their surgeries done within a month, 2 months, that would be nice to see.
Why
And then
wait?
you probably get more people behind your idea of
I
universal
don't.
health care.
No, I don't know. I don't think we would. Because why wait? We're the only country still doing this. We have more money, more power. We have more technology than any other country in the world, and we're nowhere near the best. There's so many countries doing a better job taking care of their citizens with less resources. At this point, it is just sheer stubbornness and stupidity, largely coming from Republicans and some moderate Democrats in their refusal because they're afraid of one word, and that word is socialism. You guys have been trained since you were kids to believe that socialism, communism, it's all bad. Any kind of government spending is bad, and you've been brainwashed to think that. There is no evidence that shows that private healthcare is better. It doesn't produce better outcomes. It's not cheaper. It's not better for the consumer. It's better for only the people that are making large amounts of money. There's no argument for private healthcare. And what you're doing instead is like, and what the opponents of universal healthcare do is they nitpick and they find holes in universal healthcare and say like, oh, well, there's problems. Of course there's problems. There's nothing we can do with a population of 350 million that won't have problems. But that doesn't mean we should stick with a system that's shittier. And that's the weird part about the Republican argument. They're like, yeah, we have this shitty system, and yeah, it's not working, and yeah, it's worse than everywhere else as far as cost goes, but we should stick with it because it's not, universal healthcare isn't perfect.
Right. I just would like to see it work better for the people who are already on assistance.
Okay, go look at other countries who do it better than us then.
Well,
Every
if I look at
developed
other
nation in the
countries-
world, so the 13 countries ahead of us are all doing this. Right?
Right.
This
If
is
I
the
like to-
future. We all have to just move towards it. Like, think when we're talking about privatized profit and capitalism, think about insurance companies, privatized insurance companies training workers to say, okay, you have 2 seconds per claim. You have 2 seconds to review the claim, and you have a quota of denials. And you have to get through hundreds and hundreds of these claims a day. And if you don't deny enough claims, then you're fired. That's to improve what? The profit of the few, right? Privatized profit. That has nothing to do. Healthcare should be, and think about this. You're a capitalist yourself, living in South Dakota, voting Republican. If you want to ensure the health of capitalism and that there's a healthy workforce that to provide cheap and slave labor, shouldn't you let us go to the doctor?
You already have the opportunity to go to the doctor. Nobody's preventing you from going.
No, absolutely not. People can't afford their copays. You're completely wrong in that. People can't go to, even people with health insurance in this company cannot go to the doctor.
Well,
So
you
you're
can
saying
go.
people are
You can go.
refused.
Wait, you
So
can
you're
go to the
saying people are-
hospital. You can go to the emergency room. You can go to urgent care. But you're out of your goddamn mind if you think you can just walk into any doctor's office and be like, "Treat me." No, they can absolutely reject you. They can say,
Based
"Oh, we
off
don't have
of
time
what?
for you." Because they're a private business. They're allowed to.
I know, but based off of what standards are they rejecting you? I can go to any private practitioner and say, "Hey, I need to schedule an appointment for, just a chiropractor appointment or something."
And then they.
if
Well,
I'm
sure.
paying,
No, we're talking about doctors, not
Chiropractors specialized care. That's a different thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
well,
I'm
all right.
talking about just going into any doctor's office or any like you can go into any specialist. They can reject you for any reason. If you call and say I want to make an appointment, they say who's your healthcare insurer, and you're like, oh, I'm cash pay. They can just say, oh, well, we don't have openings right now. We're not taking new patients. They do that all the
I've
time.
never been turned away from cash. I've always been accepted every time. That's weird.
You're talking about
Can
a
you be
personal
turned away?
story, right? Which is not the case across the board. And that's like why we say, like, yeah, everyone has a story of, hey, well, this seems to work okay for me, but we shouldn't be doing cash pay. That's the point. Our healthcare in this country, at the very least, if you want to use us as cheap and slave labor, then take care of us physically. Like when at
What
the
about-
Republican debates, when they were saying the solution to our Social Security Social Security issue and how it's going bankrupt is everyone don't go to college, start working 5 years earlier, and then also work 5 years longer. That's their solution, right? That
Right.
can't be
So
the
what?
solution. We're dying at an earlier age in this country. That can't be the solution. It's called prevented. It's the difference between waiting until I have an emergency. Now I'm in the ER because I can't afford to do what they call preventative healthcare. What other developed countries are doing well is called preventative healthcare. We don't do that in America. It's about diagnostic screening, catching things before they become an unbelievably expensive issue that is going to cost hospitalization, surgeries, diagnostic screenings. I mean, not diagnostic screenings, but like, expensive MRIs, etc. And that's what we need to switch to, which is cheaper, preventing major illness versus waiting for a crisis to happen and responding.
What I think is with all the people who have severe illnesses or severe disease, or I guess, what do you say respectfully? I don't want to make anybody upset, but if you have an underlying condition, I think it's going to cost more to get them under control within the first 10, 20 years than it is going to be saying it's cheaper. It's going to cost more, and we're going to have to bite that bullet in the first 20 years, unfortunately.
Yeah, but we can. That's the point.
That's what I'm agreeing with you guys, is we're going to have to bite that bullet
Yeah.
and say, all right, let's spend triple the amount for the first 20 years just to get it cheaper, so that way we can afford to live and not have to worry about waiting till we're 4 years into having cancer and not knowing that we had it.
Yeah, we've been dragging Republicans' ass on this for 20 years, and they've been saying no. And eventually, eventually Republicans are going to lose. We will have universal health care. So, get on board now, or get on board in 5, 10 years, whatever. Like, the longer we wait, the more expensive this is going to be to fix the problem. But you're going to lose. Like, it's wildly like the majority of the country now wants universal health care. It's part of the reason you guys keep losing elections. Because people want universal health care. People don't like the stances on abortion. Like, the idea of privatized health care is more unpopular now than it's ever been. This is something you're going to lose. But just remember that when we're paying off these preventative care, like, don't look at us. Don't look at those of us who have been advocating for this. Like, look at your Republicans and be like, hey, guys, you guys maybe should have been on board with this 20 years ago when we wouldn't have had this problem. Imagine if we had universal health care during COVID. The amount of lives that wouldn't have been lost, the amount of people who just never went and saw a doctor, the amount of spread, the amount of people who had pre-existing conditions that were never
mental
treated,
health
the
decline
mental health,
from
yeah.
COVID.
Yeah, but mental health decline has been long before COVID. That's not
No,
just
but the
because of
studies
COVID.
around what happened, like most scientists were saying, the most concerning, yes, okay, a world pandemic, people are going to be unalived in a pandemic, and that is unavoidable. But one of the major concerns of doctors was what happens when you shut people in their homes. The mental health, the depression, losing your livelihood, losing your business, being uncertain about where the world is going. All of these things changed people's brains. New neural pathways were literally created out of fear, abject fear and depression. And we're still combating that, but we're not funding mental health in this country. You're a South Dakota man. I'm sure you're a 2A guy, right? If you want to protect the Second Amendment, then fund mental health care.
Yeah, we're all for that, but I don't think anybody is going to push that in the Congress.
Yeah. Well, I think they definitely need to. I mean, I always say this. I was listening. It's dependent on how they do it. They need to do it the right way. We need to be providing everybody with therapy, access to therapy, access to medication if they need it. But at the last NRA conference, the disturbing thing, there is a focus from the NRA and all the Republican candidates were there yelling about mental health, but they're kind of yelling very scary things. They're yelling, bring back the mental institutions and lock them up. I don't know if they're thinking about it in a way that's productive, but they are discussing mental health.
Let me real quick just go over some. So there was a study done about the top, basically the top 12 healthcare processes in the world. The overall ranking was based on this. Number 1, access to care, the care process, which is really just like getting in and out. If you need to be transferred to another facility, things like that. Administrative efficiency, equity, and healthcare outcomes. Now they compared 12 different countries. 11 different countries. United States ranked 11 on access to care, overall ranking, administrative efficiency, equity, and healthcare outcomes. The only place they weren't dead last was care process. Like moving in and out of a facility, how quickly they can get that done, moving to a different facility. And they were second behind New Zealand. It's the only place the United States did well at all, is the efficiency of moving people in and out of systems. Everywhere else, we were dead last. Our performance scores are crazy. Like we are, if you look at every graph, like our performance scores, it's like this, and then you have the United States down here. If you look at like spending, it's like everybody's here, and the United States line is up here. If I go and I look at performance compared to spending, they're all here. U.S. is down here. It literally every graph, healthcare system performance, the affordability, it's like this, and then there's a decline and then a big drop. The U.S. It's the least, like in every measurable statistic, we are the worst. And this is, like it or not, you can blame conservatism for this. The fear of socialism, the engineering that we did post World War II, but during the Cold War, that socialism bad, communism bad. The reason we don't take care of our people is 100% related to propaganda against socialism. There are no more good arguments against universal health care. Zero. There is not a single argument that works against universal health care. And if you're being honest with yourself, like, it's socialism. You're afraid of socialism.
Somebody asked you to drop the source in the Discord for that.
CommonwealthFund. Oh, I'll post it. Let me put it in here. Thank you. CommonwealthFund.org. But I'll drop the source here. There it is. That's the thing. Like, I get it. Like, there's a lot of things we can disagree on. There's a lot of things that like I'm comfortable with conservatives having their viewpoint. They might have some good arguments. This isn't one of them. This is just fear mongering at this point, and it's at the detriment of you and me and everybody around us. Literally everybody except for the people making a fortune off of health insurance. Everybody else, it's just like fucking us right in the ass, and we're just bending over and taking it because socialism bad.
We're all on the same team, wise guy. You, me.
No,
we absolutely are. We absolutely are. We are on the same team. You don't get to choose. I'm not talking about, just to be clear, I'm not talking about Democrat, Republican right now. I'm talking about we're on the same team. We are the cheap slave labor workforce. It's us versus the capitalists versus the people versus corporations. Yes, it is. I want to talk. Well, let's talk socialism then, because I just want to piggyback off Jay's point about you're scared of the word socialism, but what it is about is where we're spending most of our time is there's no democracy, right? And that's the workplace. We're in literal dictatorships while claiming like we are living free and in democracy, where any moment, if you do or say the wrong things, your job is gone, your livelihood, your ability to take care of your family, your ability to provide health care for your family. So it's literally being a hostage. In order for me to survive in American society, I have to sell my life force, my literal life force, back to a corporation for the right to exist. This has to end.
Do you think that's going to change under socialism, having the right to exist?
Socialism is about the democratization of the workplace, of the means of production.
Right, but you're still working 40 hours a week, correct?
It's about not making profit privatized for the few.
But you're still working between 34 hours and 40 hours a week, correct?
Not necessarily. You could work 10. That's the thing. It's democratization of the workplace. So if you work for a company that says, "Hey, we're lucrative enough that our employees only have to work 10 hours a week," great. And you can share in the profits, and everybody can make an income. You only work 10 hours a week. Great.
Please give me an example of what would I do for a job for 10 hours a week?
Well, you could probably work in the health, like if healthcare was still the same way. They don't do a goddamn thing, and they make money. I'm not saying that there is an example. I'm saying that hypothetically, it doesn't mean that you have to work 30 to 40 hours a week. I'm just saying hypothetically, because it's the democratization of the profits. You could have a company where you only work 10 hours a week. If it's profitable,
it's saying your labor is worth as much as the CEO. Like that's, right, and it doesn't have to be that extreme. I'm not saying like everything goes away and there's no pay raises, there's no levels anymore to corporations. But that's what socialism is, like when you want to think about a corporation, a co-op,
Yeah, I
right?
know what a co-op is.
Yeah,
Yes.
there you go. Everyone
So,
gets a vote. Everyone has a say.
right,
Everyone
except for
has
the
skin
minority.
in the game. You should have skin in the
No,
game, right?
except for the people who don't agree with the certain policies and the majority. The majority always wins in a co-op.
Yeah, democracy,
Right. So the
freedom,
minority, the small
freedom.
fraction. Well, you're saying freedom as this utopia where
No, but
everybody's
a
yeah,
small fraction
woohoo.
is
Are you?
controlling. A small fraction is controlling all corporations now.
Right.
You're
So let's
arguing
reverse those
against what's
roles.
happening.
Right. Let's reverse those roles and give it to the people where the majority of the people have the say, and the minority that don't agree with anything they're doing, the majority is, they have no voice.
What do you mean no voice?
Because they don't get to change the laws and the rules in the workforce.
Everyone
And
gets
They,
a
wait,
vote. That's a
hold on.
yeah, but
voice.
We're
Your
every
we're
voice,
vote
talking.
just
Hold
doesn't
because you
on.
don't
count.
Hold
win the
on.
vote. Hey,
Hold
not
on, real
winning the
quick.
vote doesn't mean you don't have a voice,
We're,
right?
we're
Really?
Not
talking.
winning
Hold
does not
on,
mean your voice
wise
is
guy.
taken.
We're talking about. First of all, you're arguing against democracy, which is beautiful. I love that. But second of all, like you're talking about a business. I've never worked in a business where like 40% of the people thought like there was such a minority view. We're talking about business decisions. We're not talking about life and death. We're talking about the direction of the business. And what I think this stems from, and I'll give you the last word because I need to go to the last person. And this isn't a last word where I'm going to hang up on you, I promise, because you've
You're
been
good.
patient.
I'll be back.
But listen, we're talking about we're talking about how businesses operate. What I think it is, and why I think conservatives get nervous about this, is you are the minority now, and historically in this country we haven't treated minorities very well, and you are afraid that you being a minority in any sense means that like you're going to be overrun. But keep in mind, we're not talking about your personal beliefs. We're talking about the direction of the company that you would work for. We still
Now,
live in America. There's still a separation there. Like, it's not that crazy to say, like, yes, it's like literally companies already operate like this. There's a
right.
board, and the board votes, and the majority wins. That's how virtually every company I've owned, there were other owners with it, and that's how we voted.
Right.
How,
And
and if everybody voted, we probably would have made a lot of the same decisions.
right. And I'm gonna get 2 minutes in, and I'm gonna go enjoy my capitalism at the Chinese buffet here. So, like, I get it, you know, guys.
That's
Like,
a
I
communist
understand.
buffet, by the way. The
Right.
Chinese
Hey,
communist buffet.
I love my Chinese Americans. They're
He
great
eats
people.
his communism.
Yes, I love it. So, like, I understand the whole, yes, socialism is going to be forced here and there's nothing we can do about it. I get it, you know. I understand why people are fighting against capitalism. And I understand greed is power and that's what ruins the world. Money is the root of all evil, obviously. But I think that there's a lot of people in this country, not in the other studies what they've done in Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway, you know, a lot of different countries, Austria, they have a great housing system that everybody takes advantage of. And, you know, here in this country, we got too many people that are just too privileged that won't fight enough for an equality for all system. That's all I got to say.
Well, I appreciate it. Enjoy your meal at the CCB.
I really enjoyed this conversation, so definitely come back and see us.
Did you that's Chinese Communist Buffet, CCB. That's pretty good.
I'm sorry. I was trying so hard not to acknowledge you made a bad joke, but
great
apparently
joke.
you're going to force
That's a
it
good
upon
joke.
me. So
Yeah, I don't like it when you don't laugh at my jokes. It makes
I
me
know.
feel
I
bad.
noticed that. I
Makes
just
me
like to
feel-
pretend you're not talking at times, and you become frantic.
Makes me feel
No, but
insecure.
I just want to say I enjoyed that conversation. I mean, it started out a little rough about the Chicago stuff, but I think it ended pretty well.
The problem with Chicago is they got rid of Scruff McGruff.
If I had
Things
to-
were going well in Chicago.
The crime dog?
Yeah,
The
when he
the
was around, things were
crime-fighting
better.
dog?
Yeah. I'd really like to see more Scruff McGruff. I think I got the number right. Somebody can check this, but 606 or area code or zip code 60652, is that right? Somebody check that on Chicago. I remember Scruff McGruff, Chicago, Illinois 60652. I think
Do you
that's right.
remember the crime dog's zip code?
I remember jingles. It's crazy. I remember jingles and commercials. Curly, welcome.
Yeah, hi. I'm so glad I found you guys. This is fantastic. I've been listening to the discussion of the healthcare system, and I thought I'd chime in. You know, I think from someone who's actually both, obviously, we're all consumers, I guess, of the healthcare system, but also someone who's worked from inside it. I think that there are a couple of things, sort of myths, I guess, or ways that people talk about healthcare in the U.S. that really kind of misdirect the whole discussion towards sort of with catchphrases like socialized healthcare and so on that kind of are meant to really stop people from thinking, because there's this big boo-boo word of socialized healthcare in there. But I guess the first point I'd make is that healthcare in the U.S. isn't a functioning market, right? It's in any definition of the word. When you pick a healthcare plan and you have an employer, try calling up and finding out what's going to be the cost of any given procedure. They will not tell you. They literally won't tell you, because I've tried doing that at I've owned companies, I've been an employee.
Preach, baby. Preach. Preach.
You got to find out the aspirin's $400 after the fact.
That's
right.
This is
And once you pick, you're locked in, right? Even before you pick, you're locked in because your company selects a few plans, right? You do not have the choice of saying, well, no, there's this other plan that my buddy over at that other company has that I like, right? And it just in many, many ways, right? In many areas, you have companies that are buying up small practices and growing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, turning into local monopolies, right? So as a free market, it's completely broken, and it just really doesn't exist. And so the mechanism that ensures, any free market system works, which is consumers have information, they know what works, what doesn't work, and then they have the option to go pick something else, is completely non-existent in healthcare. And the companies that are in it, particularly companies that own hospitals and insurance companies, do everything they can to preserve that, right? So that's I guess one point. Should I keep going, or do you guys want to sort of chat back and forth?
Oh, I love what you just said. Like the uninformed
gosh.
consumer in the
This
free
is
market
soothing to me.
is a crime against
I feel
us.
I'm rolling my foot. I have plantar fasciitis, and I am rolling my foot in excruciating pain right now. And you talking about this is making the pain go away. This is just keep talking. Keep talking.
All right.
I love it. I love it when you talk to me like this.
The second thing that's really broken about healthcare is that when we talk about free markets and capitalism, the ultimate endpoint of any free market capitalistic system is sort of the serf system that Europe had, right? If it's free for all, the survival of the fittest, you're allowed to compete as much as you can and defeat and destroy your opponents. You have Europe in the Middle Ages. That's really where unfettered
feudalism,
capitalism goes. The bargain we make in the U.S. is that we say to companies, and I'll use a company that's not in healthcare as an example. We say to Apple, you can go innovate. You can go and create new things, and you can destroy all your rivals. We let them actually do that up to a limit, but there is a bargain. In the bargain, we get that better, cheaper technology, right? And so there is a benefit that accrues back from that competition. And oftentimes we ensure that when a company becomes too dominant, there is always a second company around so that they don't become a monopoly, right? So that they have a motivation to continue improving either the product or the cost, right? If you look objectively at what, say, an health insurance company does, they have zero incentive to improve the thing they deliver, which is reducing the cost of healthcare. The cost of healthcare in the US goes up, 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 because there's no mechanism to enforce that, say, Aetna, right, that's providing services, has an incentive to actually reduce your healthcare costs. All their incentive is stacked towards collecting premiums. And I'm not meaning to pick on Aetna. They're actually one of the better health insurance companies. So Aetna, don't get mad at me. But the entire incentive in health insurance is towards collecting premiums and delivering as little as you can. And so as a paradigm for free market, there is no mechanism, because again, it's not really an open market. There's no mechanism to ensure that this free competition generates some benefit to society. And without that, you're again back into very unhealthy practices. Companies that have
Crony
only incentive.
capitalism, right? Crony
Yeah,
capitalism.
yeah.
It's like they're in an
It's the
unholy
worst type of
union to
capitalism.
not
Yeah,
compete, you know what I
yeah,
mean? To bring no competition to the market, which is a
yeah,
violation of a free market, right? The
yeah.
consumer should be able to decide what is best for them and thereby eliminate unethical, let's say, or exploitative insurance companies in that process of choosing which product to consume. And that in the healthcare industry, like you're saying, through no transparency, through things like HIPAA laws, whatever it is they're using to hide behind and reduce anybody's visibility into that industry is criminal.
Yep, absolutely. And so it's not a functioning free market capitalistic type business. It's a business that just immediately, as soon as a business is created, has every incentive to try to be a monopoly and to deliver as little as it can, right? Because again, it's so difficult for a consumer to even know what they're paying and to go pick something else. That's a broken system when it comes to free markets. And there are other things that are like this. Utilities are notorious for this, right? If your utility, that's delivering gas, decides to hike up its price, you can't go and switch. And so that's why utilities are
Yes,
regulated, because
energy
they're
is the problem. Yes, the
right.
energy
So
markets.
that
You
because
have like
it's so
one, maybe
difficult.
two options, maybe, if you're lucky.
Maybe, but that even then, right? It's very difficult to create markets around certain industries because we're dependent on them, especially when you really need healthcare and you've paid, let's say, 10 years of premiums when you were healthy, and then you go to use it and they say, no, this is not covered, right? You are, SHIT out of luck. And there is nothing you can do about that at that point.
That spells shit. That spells shit,
Yeah, I
everyone.
just didn't know if you're allowed to say that or not.
I think so. I say
And
it
it's
all the
like
time.
the younger, I think that I have had I was going to say the luck, but I don't know if it's luck, of almost dying like 4 years ago. But what that did for me was just give me this wild look into the healthcare system. Like I was in the hospital for months, like being told I was going to die. Yeah. So, I mean, it was a crazy experience, but that taught me everything. And I think it's a problem when you're still able bodied, like you're saying, you're paying into premiums, you're not thinking about it. Like, oh, healthcare, it's not my favorite. I don't like the copays. I don't like the deductibles, but like, it's I'm able bodied still. It's not really affecting me. And I at a young age had the luck to have my body completely break down and realize what's coming for us all. That moment when you are no longer insurable, right? It's coming for everyone.
Yep. I mean, the latest and ugliest thing I see in healthcare is all these insurances that people sell for people who need elder care, as if paying your regular insurance isn't sufficient. Now you have to buy this other insurance so that if you're older and you need care, if you get dementia or something like that, right?
Just layer the products on
Insurance
top.
won't cover
Just
that, right?
like
You need
more
this whole other
insurance
thing.
products is the answer. Just layer them on
And that's
top.
just a classic example of we collect premiums, but we really don't want to deliver care. We want to deliver as little care as possible. And so
Amen.
personally, I think the health insurance company really, in my opinion, if I can put it in a really extreme way, doesn't really have a right to exist as a free market, a business, because it just doesn't lend itself to that model. It's however you look at it, it's about collect premiums and pay out as little as possible. There really isn't another model for that.
And then also, like, let's pay our healthcare workers. Like, my time in the hospital taught me that nurses are angels. And I know I'm not saying nurses don't get paid, but like when they have 6 seconds per patient in intensive care to evaluate someone, and then we're angry at them when they're exhausted or striking or whatever, this system, when we cut out privatized profit, we can value people's labor, value what they're doing for people, better.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and that's a whole other very interesting discussion around how healthcare is staffed, and there is, for example, a lot of resistance from doctors traditionally into bringing in things like telehealth, because they see that as they've traditionally, before COVID, doctors saw telehealth as a threat to their livelihood, right? And so There were before, many people may or may not know this, but before COVID sort of broke open the gates to telehealth, in many states, doctors had lobbied and passed laws that said you could only do telehealth if you first went in for a physical visit. And that was precisely done so that if you're, say, in California, you can't do telehealth with somebody in India, right, who will be much cheaper. But there were actually laws on the book, and COVID kind of forced those laws to be suspended essentially. But there is a lot of interesting things going on there. Hey, I'll touch on one other thing that, again, few people think or know about, and that's clinical trials, and how the healthcare system in the U.S. affects that. I don't know if you guys know this, but virtually every company that brings a new medical product on the market does it first in Europe. And the reason that happens there is that the U.S. healthcare system is so fragmented that it's extremely difficult to get private insurance companies to agree to pay for anything. They just won't do it. And so virtually every medical, whether it's a medical device or pharmaceutical company, first gets European approval for their product and essentially tries to embarrass the FDA and U.S. insurance companies into approving the product in the U.S. They all start abroad because over there it's single payer, so they can talk to, let's say they go to the UK, they talk to the National Health Services. The National Health Services in the UK, once you're past the regulatory process, can look at the overall cost of care and say, yeah, this procedure makes sense because even though it's more expensive, it'll reduce the overall cost of care. And so every company has to play this game of going abroad, getting the approval, and then turning around and coming into Medicare and then private insurance in the US and saying, look, they're paying for it in the UK, they're paying for it in France, you need to start paying for it. And that's one of the biggest barriers to medical innovation in the US is this question of getting somebody to pay for it, which no insurance company wants to do until they're absolutely forced to.
Thank you. Thanks for explaining that. I'm going to bring up some op now. I'm going to give you a follow though. We need to talk again. This is like heaven to me to talk about universal healthcare. It's my number one thing.
I also am following you. Thank you.
Want me to step down or stay on?
Yeah, I'm gonna switch the subject just a little bit, so it'll probably be someone else. So I'll drop you down and then let's talk again soon.
Sounds good. Good
All
talking.
Right, thank you. Nice to meet you. This was one thing I forgot I wanted to cover earlier. Do you know who Mike Davis is?
Why does that sound familiar?
I can't remember. So Mike Davis is a person that Steve Bannon and many others are touting, saying will be Trump's attorney general.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Have you ever looked at his Twitter?
No, but I mean, I consider like Mike Davis is the same as like letting Kash Patel be the White House press secretary. It's like for shock value. It's less. He's crazy.
For he's the attorney general.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but that's the point. Scenario. Like, I think the comment that was made, or I heard Don Jr. talking about this, and Don Jr.'s a lot of things. Maybe he has an addiction problem, but he is intelligent. And I mean, it would be for shock value, not because Mike Davis is a competent attorney general, but to just like show people like this is just to rain down hell upon us, essentially, and chaos.
Okay.
To be more thankful when the second choice comes in. But yeah, tell me about Mike Davis, because I don't specifically know.
Mike Davis he sucks. And he sucks so much. Mike Davis is currently on Twitter advocating that literally anybody at any point who says free Palestine. So here's a tweet for an example of which city was it? Dearborn Heights, Michigan, had put a Palestinian flag on their welcome to the city sign. Calls them occupiers, send them home, send them to the gulags. He's advocating that journalists, politicians, anybody who says anything like free Palestine will be locked up in the gulags. And he's advocating using prison labor for this. He's advocating actual camps for anybody who says free Palestine. And he likely will, just so you know, he will likely be Trump's pick for attorney general. And if somehow Trump were to get enough people in the Senate and in Congress, if he were to somehow have a majority can get these people pushed through, this is the kind of stuff that they'd be
No,
advocating for.
no. He doesn't need Congress. No,
For
you.
Attorney
That's
General?
not how
Oh,
they're going
that's
to get
right. That's right.
Yeah,
For
you
Attorney General,
don't.
he
You
doesn't
don't
need
even
that.
understand the plan. That's
Oh,
what they want
God,
to do. They
that's
want to bring
right.
in an insane Attorney General, and they're not going to go through Congress. These are the camps. They want to mass deport these people, but in the interim, before they can, Dearborn, Michigan, by the way, is the largest Muslim population in the country. Like, they are you know what I mean? They're
because he can just have an acting Attorney
and so
General.
they're going to
essentially.
create camps while they're waiting for the mass deportations, but they're not going to use money. They don't need approval from Congress. They're going to use the already allocated military budget, what Trump did to get the wall, to go, so they don't need to go through Congress. That's what's terrifying about this.
And he could just stay as acting, correct, for essentially as long as it takes, right?
But I think this is kind of like a shock and awe, come in and show everyone what's what. Yeah, and deport, the mass deportation, the Eisenhower operation, racial slur, take 2 is what we're doing. And then also the Muslim ban, stop people from Muslim countries from coming here, use the precedent that was set with Remain in Mexico. Title 42 is the legal precedent that Mike Davis will be using to say that people from Muslim countries are diseased. Quote in the New York Times.
Anyways, if you guys aren't aware of who Mike Davis is, just go don't follow him on Twitter, but just watch some of the shit he says on Twitter. It's absolutely disgusting. And he shares stuff. He constantly shares like emails and like voice messages that he gets from people supporting him. And it blows my mind every single day. He's the single most like sick person I know of on Twitter. Just his rhetoric. His rhetoric is anybody who's anti-Trump legitimately should be thrown in jail. He references gulags often. He's a big proponent of bringing back public hangings. He's all for all of that.
That's nice. That's what we need. Scare the fear into everyone. Make sure everyone stays in line.
Yeah. All right. We may have run off all. Where are we at? 12:36. All right. Do you want to open it up? We haven't done this for a while. Do you want to open it up to a Felice? Ask me anything. Last 20 minutes.
Stop putting me on the spot.
I said, do you want to?
Why don't we do that to you? Why is this?
I've done it to me so many times.
Ask Jay things about.
I've done it to me.
You can ask me anything. It's just a matter of if I answer is the problem.
Do you want to do that for the last 20 minutes? Is the question.
You want me to go through 20 minutes of people saying stuff like anything to me? Mm-hmm. Is this about politics or is this just about like bad views? That's what I'm trying to get at. Is this going to be
Could be
about...
anything. Could be anything. That's why it's Ask Me Anything. Do you consent?
Fine, whatever.
Okay, here we go. The last 20 minutes is Ask Me Anything. This is part of it. I've done this.
This is part of what?
You
get off on putting people in uncomfortable positions. This is what you do, and you spring it on people. You could have told me this morning at any moment or 5 minutes ago, but no.
I just told you.
Fine, whatever.
I just told you
Let's
right now.
do this and know that I'm planning something. I'm a planner.
Lego, you're first.
I just wanted to say Felice is awesome, and that's not why I requested. I was trying to come in when you were talking about breakfast places this morning earlier. So there's a place on the northeast corner of Power and Southern that has the best bagel selection on the face of the planet. I don't remember what it's called, but it's in the strip mall next to the Batteries Plus store.
Now you're talking. I'm going to find this right now.
They have Cinnamon Toast Crunch bagels.
Oh my God. Oh
yes.
My God. I love a cinnamon sugar bagel. That sounds very similar.
So I think I've figured out around where you're at, RTP, so it'd probably take you 10 or 15 minutes to get there, so it might be more of a
Is it Cocapelli Bagel Cafe?
Yeah.
I pass by there from time to time. There's a golf shop nearby there that I've frequented. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So best bagels hands down that I've ever had, and I don't know, Felice, where you live, but if you're close,
I was gonna say let's all go to breakfast. I'll just get a hotel room and stay the night out there.
Done. Let me know.
I live in Phoenix, Central Phoenix, pretty much.
All right. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you. Oh, I'm so excited about. See. This is a great thing, Felice. I don't know what you're afraid of.
It's just I don't know. There's just anxiety
everybody's going to
churning
gang
through
up on me, right? You know this is going to turn into
I hope
everybody
this is
ganging
everyone
up on
informing you that it's time for you to step down and for me to run away.
Go ahead.
So, I just have a question for you, Felice. On a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being like, puppy dog status to 10 being just, awful, just gross, where would you rank Jay's punchable face?
Can I see the face? Can you do it right now?
Oh, no, you're looking at it.
Oh, did you call him a punch bowl face?
Punchable, I think.
Oh, punchable. I was like, what?
Punchable.
Yeah, like I said this, I think I said this to you one time, Jay. Like you do have like large eyes that are kind of like puppy dog like. Like you can look kind of innocent, but you do constantly ambush people and put them on the spot. So it is like you're always up to something. So I'm gonna give it a.
I just want people to get to know you. That's
3.5.
That's not bad. Could have been worse. It could have been worse. Take that.
No, I really do. I like Jay a lot. I like and respect him. I was just telling him last night, he's growing on me like a fungus.
She did say that. That was the last message I got before I went to bed last night, is Felice telling me I grow on her like a fungus. Was the last thing.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm gonna leave on that note.
Yeah, get the hell out of here. Good to see you.
See you in the Discord.
I told you, all of these are going to just be shots at me, just so you know. You can be as upset as you want, but they're all just going to make fun of me, because they all like you more. Kimberly. One of our such a great mod that I never forget to mention, Kimberly.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Jay. I just wanted to come up and say, Felice, thank you so much for everything you're doing for the Discord and everything you're doing for the live stream. I really, really appreciate your sacrifice in building this community. You're amazing. Thank you.
I just want to say that this is kind of, let's not get emotional and start crying, but I have gotten so much out of the Discord. Like, I mean, obviously we have conversations in lives and there's a lot of learning and education, but just, I have to say, I'm genuinely just shocked. Like, just the level of intelligence, the level of empathy, the level of people wanting to have good faith discussions about change is, I mean, that's my crack cocaine. You know what I mean?
I'm with you.
I love you guys. And I just feel like it was like finding a home. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for all the hard work and building that up. Appreciate it.
People are asking about the Discord. Jay, how do you want people to join the Discord?
It's your Discord. You do it.
No, stop crying. I can't push buttons in there. I should not be pushing buttons. I
also shouldn't be pushing buttons.
I don't. But how do you tell people to join the Discord? Please tell them for real.
Send myself, Kimberly, Jen, Korean leftist Yolanda. She's gonna freak out if I forget her. Infectious Bites. Did I miss somebody? Don't send Felice. Just send any one of us a message.
Jay is a boomer. He doesn't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Cool, thanks.
No, but for real, Jay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Like, I didn't join this Discord. Like some people I see are like, oh, well, I looked for this Discord to make friends. I didn't come here to make friends. I came here because I was finding like a common group of people that want to see change and to see change now. And then to be able to make friends from that group is just like icing on the cake. So it's really cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Kimberly. Have a good day.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Subscribers go first, so Airborne Mom, welcome.
Hey, how y'all doing? Good. So I got one question and one statement. Jay, I love it when you say shh.
When I say shushies, is that what you said?
Yes, I love it.
Thank you.
And please, how do you put up with H-Back?
Well, we are interviewing for a full-time handler. Right now, I believe Trash Boy is in the position, but we don't know. It's a job that probably will have to have regular rotation or possibly 2 to 3 handlers to manage him. You know what I mean? Just keep him on track.
Well, I take my hat off to you because I probably wouldn't have no hair left if I talked to him every day like you did.
Yeah, and you didn't even see the behind the scenes. Yeah, no, Jay, I don't know. I actually think this sounds so weird, but I think we have great rapport. Like you know what I mean? We feed off each other well. Like his strengths are my weaknesses. Like I don't want to have a meltdown and start screaming, be quiet all the time and all that. Like he does all the things I don't.
How are my strengths just like psychotic?
Just having emotional outbursts and all of that. That's him, and that's
like
great.
Right now. Got it.
You just have that calming magic to HVAC. That's what it is.
I'm trying to lull him into a false sense of security. All of them, constantly.
Whew.
It's okay, Jay. I'll be your mommy.
Well, thank you
Don't
for
ever
having
say
me.
that. Don't ever say. My mommy is probably here. My mommy's probably in the chat. So how dare you?
But thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for subscribing too.
No
Appreciate that.
problem.
All right. This should be terrific.
Oh no.
Why do you always give me so much shade?
Because of what you're about to say.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, let's find out.
I mean,
Yes.
is this the picture that we were talking
Yes,
about?
I love this moment for us.
This is AI.
That's
is
your contact
100%.
photo in my phone.
And listen, before
This is
let's
Jay
not-
waiting
This
for.
is what I see every time he contacts me.
let's not take this out of context. This was not. See, you guys are. This was just me begging for HVAC's glizzies. That's all this was, and you guys
I
are
know.
taking it
I was gonna
so
say
far
that.
out of
You,
context.
I mean, you're the one that
Yeah,
feels
this
you
is
owe an
not my picture,
explanation.
this
I
is-
just thought this was a
this is-
photo of you.
I just want the context to be correct. I just wanted all of HVAC's glizzies. That's it. That's the only reason I made that face. And I don't know why I make faces, because I know, like, Jen's ability to screen record and screen capture, like, she's her timing's incredible. I know she's parenting. Sometimes she'll be, like, writing a message and somehow still get a screenshot of me saying something while she's writing a message. I don't know how she does it, but
Well, I've got
you're-
3 screens. I think we've talked about this. I've got here, I'll show you. Where is
Oh,
it?
good.
Yeah, your meme game is like on point too. Like I don't know how you do it.
So I've got this is
Am I the Rizzler?
so I've got 3 screens. So this is how I do it.
That explains a lot.
It's like a hacker.
It's like a command center.
Kinda. So
All right, that's terrifying. Great.
all right, turn.
Felice, do you have a Newsweek creator account? Somebody asked.
I was just writing. I don't know what that is, so I'm gonna go with no.
I have 3 of them.
Okay, so I was gonna do the one question
for all of us.
So I've got 2. You can pick which question you want to answer. Out of the people in the Discord, who would you want to make out with most? Or what do you like the most and least about your personality?
I'll do both, like most and least. Like the thing is about it turns out my personality, which I thought I had a personality, but after the last 5 years of intensive therapy, it's been revealed to me that what I thought was a personality were just trauma triggers. Like, so probably like I thought being a perfectionist was a good thing, but I realize now that it's like conditioned through abuse. So probably just always feeling the need to be perfect, like not allowing myself to make mistakes, or, you know, in my head, like the running narrative of like, you're not good enough. Like those are the types of things that I would say I am endeavoring to change. And the best thing about my personality, I think, and what I'm embracing now is just like the empathy. I have a ton of empathy for people, and I think for a lot of my life, I was very disassociated from life. Like when I worked in corporate America, you have to shut off the empathy. You cannot care about people and survive. So like now embracing that, I see the value in it. And it's allowing me to like make real connections with people that I cherish. So yeah, that's my answer to that. And then about the makeout, like I'm just gonna go, like I think it's unpopular in the Discord, or maybe it's popular now, but I'm just gonna go with bad views. Can't even believe I'm saying this. I don't know. I don't.
Somebody clipped that? Did somebody clip
I
that?
hate all of you. No. But
That
for
views is
real,
somewhere so excited.
yeah, I don't know where he
Take
is. I
that.
haven't heard from
Take
him
that.
this
Our
morning.
communist friend, our lefty communist that you all love, her dream kiss is bad views.
Well, I have to meet more people in the Discord. Like, I don't know what any, like, you know what I mean? If there's any other options, just message me, I guess.
You just opened up your DMs. Oh, now who needs a handler? This is a dangerous game you're playing.
I know. Whisper is somewhere not happy right now. We're getting a talking to.
Yeah. Miss Julie. Everybody's favorite. She's going to be so mad you didn't pick her.
Oh yeah, I would choose any woman in the Discord over a man. So I should have probably have just prefaced that. I'll make out with all the women in the Discord, free of charge. Just let's set up a time.
I don't know why my camera's on, and I'm afraid when I Oh wait, I turned it off. Okay. I'm safe now. Uh, Felice, I'm glad you're there because the last time I needed help from Jay, I wound up having to stay in jail for 3 days over the weekend because he wouldn't take my calls and send any bail money. So I'm glad you're there. Just saying. Hold on.
I'm here for you. I'm responsive. I'm here. I'm engaged.
Sorry,
I
I
will
was
leave you in
eating.
jail.
I was eating a Necco wafer. I wasn't sure what it was. I found it in the coin slot of this payphone, and yeah, I think it's a chocolate Necco wafer. Wasn't it? Was not fresh.
I didn't know they still made Necco wafers. I had no idea.
Well, I'm not exactly sure where I am, so some nice young man told me I was located somewhere at the triangulation point of, what was it? I wrote it down on my hand. Correctionville, Manly, and Beaverdale. Those places seem like they would have something in common, but I don't know. So I don't even know what state I'm in. I fell asleep on the bus, and my Depends wasn't very dependable, Felice. They put me off the bus. I don't know where I am. So I was just calling to say hi. Since I saw it was the day to talk to you, I thought, Felice is a lot more reliable and level-headed than Jay. He's
I
nice
think that's
to look
true.
at.
He's
Jay's
nice
nice
to look at.
But you know what, Felice? You're a lot nicer to look at.
Oh, that's
Just saying.
yeah. We could. I am here for you. I think we all are, though, Miss Julie.
I will bring that Necco wafer back for you, Felice. If I ever make it back, I will save this Necco wafer
Thank you. Thank you.
as a token of my love and esteem.
That's a real passing of the baton as your favorite. I accept.
All right.
Thanks, Miss Julie.
I am sober. I will have you know.
I just want to make the announcement.
I'm dead sober.
I didn't know. It's beautiful, Miss Julie. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me of Necco wafers, too.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen to Miss Kitty Whispers. Hopefully there's been a sighting. If she's
God.
still in Florida, she may be working her way back up to Detroit. I don't know. It could be anything at this point. It's all gone to hell. I think, wait. I just saw a cop car go by. Oh, I'm in Iowa. Wait, that's if I remember geography correctly, that wasn't on the way to Florida.
Are you saying you're in Iowa?
How the fuck did I get in Beaverdale, Manly, and Correctionville? Yeah, I am triangulated smack dab somewhere in Iowa. Well, all right then. Think happy thoughts for me. Hopefully I'll make it back.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
love you all, but I love Felice more.
Oh, I love the sound of that. See you in the Discord.
I'll see you in the Discord, my love.
Bye,
Farewell.
Miss Julie.
I still love you, Jay, but you left me to rot in women's prison.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I love you. Bye. I think that might have cleared the box. My head hurts. Oh. I had to look up Beaverdale. Not far from Nauvoo, Illinois, home of the Mormons. It's just on the other side of the river there. Travel Casey lives in Beaverdale, Iowa. That's crazy. There's no chance somebody lives
How many
there.
people live there?
Just
Is it a
her
big
and the
place,
prisoners,
or-
I think.
Just her.
I'm looking at the town. It is not big.
Well, have you been to Iowa? I mean, that's kind of a theme there.
I did. I lived in Iowa. I lived just north of there in the Quad Cities in Davenport, Iowa.
I used to date someone who lived in Davenport. He was in chiropractic school there, so I am familiar with the Quad
What was
Cities.
that school called?
Yeah, Palmer.
Palmer. Yeah, everybody you met there that wasn't from Iowa went to Palmer.
No, let me tell you the best part about Davenport, Iowa, or from what I saw of it. Okay, there are all these chiropractic students are like, we're going out, like, you know, this is back. I don't drink anymore, but this is years ago, like in my younger days. But and I'm like, where are we going? Like, are we going to a bar or a club? And they're like, oh, you're gonna love this. So they take me to this place. Like, there's just cars like parked in a dirt lot, and there's like a giant tough shed, like warehouse, and half of it is a UFC fighting ring where the regular people can sign up to fight each
I
other.
have been there.
And then the other half is a strip club.
Yeah, it's terrific.
I don't think I've ever had more fun in my life.
They have this in Moline on the other side of the river. It might have been in Rock Island. I can't remember. One of them, Moline or Rock Island. They have, it's Moline. They have like this downtown next to the river, and they bring in bands every week. It's just this stretch of bars. And we went down there one week, and the headliner was Hoobastank, which, that's the reason we were there. So we're in this bar waiting for drinks, and this guy comes and sits next to me. This I want to say, I don't remember, maybe it's, I want to say Philippine. I don't remember. I talked to him. I can't remember where he's from, but some Asian country. We'll just say that. I'm not doing a great job. Sits next to me. We're talking, and then all these people start pouring in, and they've got on all their Affliction gear, and this is at the time when you had the bedazzled jeans. And I said to him, looks like the Hoobastank crowd's here. Here comes the douchebags. And we just laughed about it. And then my friend went to the bathroom, and we were talking, and he's like, are you from here? I was like, no, I'm from Utah. I'm out here working. I was like, what do you do? He's like, I'm in a band. I was like, that's awesome. What band? And he said, Hoobastank. I'm the lead singer. And I didn't know that the lead singer of Hoobastank was an Asian man. And I was like, I'm really sorry, dude. I don't like your music. And he just said, that's okay. And then he just sat there and drank with us for like 30 more minutes. He was a very nice person that didn't care that I made fun of Hoobastank. It's my whole story.
Someone said in the comments earlier, you listen to Train. Is that, like, I'm noticing a theme here.
Everybody has listened to Train. I don't know who I'm not like a Train fan, but
I don't know. I just saw it scrolling in the comments. I just thought I would question
every
you about
single
it.
person here has listened to Train.
Why are you defending it in that way? Do you feel shame?
No, that's what I'm saying. They're trying to shame me for that. That they weren't like.
Train is great. I mean, we can't
Don't tell me you don't
Train.
love Hey Soul Sister, or what was
that's the worst Train song. Stop naming the only one. Meet Virginia.
Okay, Meet Virginia's great, but Soul Sister comes on and nobody changes the station. It's like Creed. Everybody pretends that they hate it, but everybody listens to it.
No, it's not. Train's better than Creed, aren't they?
I know, but
I want to feel that way.
It's the same thing. Everybody listens to it, and then we all just pretend that we never listened to it and that we hated it always. I'm just honest about it. I did listen.
Like, who have you mentioned today? We've gotten Eve 6, Hoobastank, Creed, Train. Like, what is happening? We need to have like a 90s
I
karaoke
wasn't there
hour.
for Hoobastank.
I've also heard you like hum and sing, and you have a pretty good singing voice.
Thank you. Sorry, never mind. I was mixed up for a second. Hi, Peachy.
Hi.
You're just here to flirt with Felice, right?
Yeah, I actually am.
Got it. I'll mute.
I love you.
I was gonna say, when you said that earlier, when you were like, I would make out with anybody in the Discord, any woman in the Discord, I was like, ooh, pick me. No, actually, I'm not opposition. I am in the Discord, but I just wanted to tell you, you mentioned that club you went to with a UFC fighter, or UFC fights on one side and strip club on the other side. So I am from California, but I went to college in Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma City, they have a club called Cowboys. And on one side, it's dancing, which they do like half line dancing, and then they'll randomly try to play hip hop. It's really weird. But the other half, the other side, is live bull riding, and anybody can sign up. It's amazing.
By the way, like, my ADHD needs to be in these type of environments. Is
By
what
the way,
I
that
learned.
place, that Tough Shed / strip club / fight location, I believe, if it's the same one I went to, it's called Daisy Dukes, and Dukes is Dooks. I'm pretty. Is that correct? Does that ring a bell to you?
Oh, I can't remember the outside structure. It was dark.
Yeah, it's just a giant parking lot, like way too big.
I'm sure it is. How many of these places could exist possibly in Moline, Iowa?
Well, this was in Davenport. When
Well,
I was
wherever.
there,
I don't know where I was.
There was the Pony and Daisy Dukes. That was what was there when I was there. I don't know which one you went to. The one with the big parking lot is Daisy Dukes. The smaller parking lot is
the parking lot was huge.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I want to be clear that bull riding is a live bull. It's not like a mechanical
Oh shit!
bull.
It wasn't mechanical. They had
No,
a live bull
I
ride?
thought that's what you meant. I'm not even
No,
surprised
live
by that.
bull
I'm not surprised by that.
Was not ready for that.
I almost fought in that Fight Club situation. I was there for like 4 hours. Like hour 3, I was like, should I sign up and fight somebody? Like you're there for so long. You're just like, maybe I do want to fist fight somebody.
I might as well join. Anyway, that's all. Thank you for having me up, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Listen, you guys have 2 more minutes if you're going to jump in the box to embarrass Felice. You have 2 more, or I mean to ask her anything. Sorry, I always say the words wrong.
Because that's what you really wanted, and it's backfiring on you.
I knew it would. It always does. It never goes well for me. The questions that you've been asked compared to the questions I get asked when I do Ask Me Anything, like mine are horrific. And everybody up here is just like, hey, I want you to make out with me. Every single one of them. Nobody's asking you tough questions.
I have a question for you.
Great.
Well, it's serious. How long ago did you get divorced?
No, I'm not answering that question.
Why? Is it a secret? I'm not. I'm just asking because you mentioned that you're divorced a lot, but you never talk about it. I was just curious. Sorry.
A little bit. We'll talk offline about that. We'll talk offline. It's complicated, is what it is, and I don't want to explain that to everybody.
Oh, I guess you did kind of tell me that.
Yeah, the secret. It's the reason is you. Kristen, not the secret.
No, but did you see how that felt, Jay? Did you see that moment where
that's
you're
the first time?
Oh, I feel so very uncomfortable right now. Why would she be doing this to me live when so many people are watching? I want you to sit in that feeling before you do this to me again.
I do it to myself all the time. That's what they do. It's yeah, you're right. You're right. But I still want people to ask you really uncomfortable questions.
No, it's.
It was uncomfortable,
changes.
but I
Nothing
don't want to
changes.
change. Correct. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, I think that's it. There's our 1 o'clock. Nobody else has any Felice questions.
Another great day.
Last words, Felice. I won't kick you off. Go ahead and closing statement.
No, did you see the Chris Mullen fight thing? I just wanted to ask.
Chris Mullen,
the senator.
Chris Mullen was a basketball player.
Not Chris Mullins, I thought.
No, that's Chris Mullen.
Well, Chris Mullins,
it's like,
Mullen,
isn't his name...
the senator, tried to fist fight somebody.
Isn't it like Lee Wayne Mullen today. Or something?
In the Senate today.
Wait, are you talking about Mark Wayne is who you're talking about? Mark Wayne Mullen.
Oh, am I talking about?
Yeah, Chris Mullen is a
Maybe I just am thinking of a basketball player.
Yeah, Mark Wayne Mullen
tried to fight somebody on the Senate floor today or in a congressional hearing.
Yeah, it's the union witness. They've gone back and forth before. I don't know if did he do it again?
Yeah,
is it the same guy? Is it the bald guy?
He did it a couple hours ago. That's why I just wanted to cue people into that for the end of our show.
Is it the same guy? Yeah, it's the same guy. These two have had a rivalry for like 6 months. They went back at it like 6 months ago. They had a fight, and I'm forgetting this guy's name. They basically, like, on the House floor, the guy's like, I'm not afraid of you, you're a puss. Like, they called each other pussies, basically, on the House floor. These two, this has been coming, and I think if Dana White has any credibility at all, he should sanction this fight. We should watch this fight.
Oh my gosh, we should have Congress people fist fighting civilians. Do you know how many Congress people I want to fight?
Yeah, so go watch this. Go watch the entire history. But these two have threatened to fight. This witness, I forget his name. He
cage matches. That's how we'll settle these disputes in Congress from now.
Oh wait, no, this is the old clip. I think this is from.
Someone wants to
November
ask
14th.
me a question.
All right.
Allie, and yeah, you can ask me a question.
Is that who this is? I've got a few more minutes. I can.
Oh no, that person.
Oh whoops.
I've got a few more minutes.
Hey, I had a question for Jay.
Go ahead.
What's your favorite strip club and stripper? In Davenport.
Can you mute? We got an echo on yours. I went one time as it was closing. I don't mean this in any negative way to people who go to strip clubs. They're not for me. You guys know how uncomfortable I am based on my upbringing. Like anything that somebody brings up that's vaguely sexual, my face goes red. Strip clubs are a very uncomfortable place for me because of the guilt and shame I had revolving around sex when I was a kid. So I've been to one strip club where I actually went in and hung out, and it was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life. I will maybe share that in Discord at some point, but that is
definitely.
That is not a story I can share on here. So I don't know any, but I will tell it. I did date a girl from Davenport. No, I'm not going to tell that story. It's me. Never mind. I'm going to leave that story. That's another Discord story. I'll leave that out. Thank you. That question didn't seem like it was for you at all.
I totally get that though. Like, we have to dismantle like the unhealthy narrative about sex, like that comes from religion. Because like as an evangelical, yeah, they made me sign a contract that said I wouldn't have sex till I was married, when I was like 12.
That's early. That's early.
Yeah, I had no idea what we were even talking about. And then I never got married, so you can see how well that worked out.
Yeah, well, that's one of the few things of Mormonism, like one of the few shame things that worked in my favor, probably. I didn't spend a lot of time in strip clubs. That's one of the few things that probably worked in my favor. Was Allie going to come up? Are we talking Allie Pants? Is that who?
No. It was somebody in the chat. No, not. I'm trying to scroll backwards and see if I can find it. But if anyone wants to ask a question real quick before we shut it down, you are more than welcome.
10,
but
9, 8, 7, 6,
Stop.
5,
What are you doing?
4, 3.
Thanks, Billy.
2. Allie, Allie Pants, I know about the fundraiser. I told you could post that in the Discord, and if you wanted to talk about it today, is Allie Pants here? You know what she's talking about. All right, Allie, let's do it tomorrow. I'll make sure I'll give you time tomorrow. That's gonna be it. I'm signing off. Felice, thank you for staying.
Raise the roof, everyone. Keep it raised.
Jesus. I'm the boomer. We can't end with fucking raise.
Okay,
the
Huba
roof.
Sank. Don't judge anyone.
Yeah, the
you
reason
should be
is you.
ashamed of the things you said today.
I'm ashamed of a lot of things I say, but I'll see everybody 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Monday through Friday. You get me, you get Felice, even if she's late like she was today.
Twofer.
She doesn't seem to care a
I
lot
was doing
about being on
research
time.
for the sake
I
of us
do.
all.
I show up mostly on time every single day. You can catch the replay of this live on YouTube later this evening. Make sure you subscribe there for when we do live events on YouTube. If you want the Discord link, send me.
I'm going to
one of
start
them.
making YouTube shorts on our YouTube channel.
That's right. That's right. We're going to do that. I hope so. I asked
They're
you
going
if
to
you
be
wanted to do
wild.
that yesterday. And you didn't.
Unhinged.
It's weird that you ignored when I asked that yesterday, and now you're answering.
Well, we have to
24 hours
negotiate with
later.
each other because I feel like that we have a showdown coming. It made me nervous. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
We'll see you all in the morning.
Bye, guys.
Bye.